It's about that time to grab your favorite snack and sit back and relax, because you are now listening to the Movie Time podcast with your hosts, LOWKEY Geek Renee Zalata and Blake the Wolf. Take it away, boys.
Hey, what's up? Happy New Year! Guess who's back? Same two faces, brand new year. Got the Movie Bros back here on a brand new episode, the first episode of 2024 of Movie Time. What's up? Got myself, Renee, and Blake, my buddy. We are back to talk about our favorite movies of 2023. This is what we usually love to do at the beginning of every year. We're not like all those other people that start putting out their top list in the middle of December because they're all privileged and we're able to watch all these movies beforehand. We needed some extra time, like always, to watch as much as we could from last year. And it just feels right to wait until the year's actually over to then give our thoughts and insights on what our best movies were from last year. I mean, that's just me. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I wait until Society of the Snow comes out before confirming it's not in my top 10 list, because it's not. But it's a terrible time watching people eat each other in the mountains. But
I mean, but
I got to
it is
make
winter,
sure it was
so.
my favorite. Yeah, it felt very. And it was supposed to snow this week in New York, and I was like, okay, perfect snow day movie, I guess,
Right.
if you want to eat your friends. I'm going to put you on the spot, Renee.
Oh,
New Year's
shit,
resolution.
okay.
I can go first if you want. I don't know if you do those.
So
Resolution Man?
here's my take on the whole resolutions things. I don't do resolutions. However, I do come up with a term or phrase that's going to carry me on through the year, as far as like how I handle myself or how I handle life in general.
That's why when we were warming up, you just kept saying Fergalicious, because
Exactly.
you want to remind yourself to be more Fergalicious.
I need
in the
more
year
Fergalicious in my
2024.
life. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
You seem really Fergalicious today. It seems like it's working so far.
but my phrase or term of the year is organization. I think for me, both professional and personal, I need to be more organized. So I am approaching 2024 with organization as my term of the year. So that's what I do. I never assumed you were a resolutions guy. So
My resolutions, I have a very sincere set of resolutions for 2024, but it's similar. It's like it's more of a concept.
okay.
And it's letting myself go,
Oh.
gaining weight, shaving less, showering less, just doing less, productivity, more couching, more just giving up and hanging back. And that's my goal. I think it's a pretty achievable goal. I would say if I had to put a word on it, it'd be disorganization would be the goal, and more anti-organization, I would say, like going out of my way to just not be put together. I'm usually, you know me, I'm a little buttoned up at times. I'm just wanting to let go, let my hair down a little bit, and just say fuck it more in 2024. Also, got a microphone here, so as far as like goals, we got a goal, and we can cross it off. Thank you, Mr. Renee, Mr.
That's
Host,
right,
for this microphone.
Yeah. We're again, one of the goals I kept mentioning last year is that we need to get our boy Blake a mic. Just, you know, to sound a little bit better, inch our way towards more professionalism and all that stuff. So, you know, we made enough as far as ad revenue and you know, just like little things here and there, some of the affiliate stuff, that we were able to get ourselves a mic for our buddy Blake here. Now, it's not the best mic in the world, but it's a mic, and it's something that I actually like researched and said, you know what, for this price range, I think this mic is pretty good. So hopefully his voice is sounding in crystal clear, and we'll be doing so for the new year. So we're very excited and happy about that.
I'm going to go through, because over the holiday break, I saw Color Purple. So I'm going to be singing some of those songs. And I'm glad we got the mic for that specifically, because I want to come in auto crisp. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, as we are now, welcoming the new year and all that, it's a time for reflection. That's how I always view January. It's like a good time for reflection
Mm.
as far as previous year and the things that we saw, the things that we enjoyed. As the year 2023 closed out, do you recall? So here's a question for you: what was the last movie you saw in the theater, and what was the last movie
Mhm.
overall that you watched in 2023?
Before, hold on, are we talking about 2023 movies? Are we talking about before like midnight, December 31st?
Yeah, before midnight.
Okay, so what I'm absolutely going to do right now is buy some time because guess who ranks every single movie that they ever see on Letterboxd? And I'm going to get this precise because what I've been doing lately
Yeah.
is ramming movies, and I mean like all the short films, shortlisted movies, comedy specials. There was like a bunch dropped at the end of the year, and then just proper films.
Right.
And we have all that mad dash at the end of the year of movies that are dropped. There's three
Mhm.
movies that came out on Christmas Day that I was excited
It was
about,
insane. Yeah.
and it was bonkers. I've been using all of my AMC A list 3 movies a week,
Hmm.
every single week. So we're about to get in January, dry January, and Dumpuary, as it's called, where studios
Yeah.
will just like, oh yeah, like we're gonna get the last of the Oscar baity kind of stuff, and then it's just downhill.
Yeah.
So I looked at the new releases this week, and I was like, maybe Renee and I will discuss. Nope. Other than
Nope.
Society of the Snow, there's just crap, just
Yeah.
nothing. So I've been getting all of that 2023 moviness out of the way. There's still a couple more that I want to watch that are either on your list or are, but basically everything I possibly feasibly could see, I
Hmm.
saw ahead of time. We'll get into more of our speed of organization with your New Year's goals. We organized our list,
We
our
did.
top list,
We
and I
did.
counted how many movies I saw. And I think for movies that were released in 2023,
Yeah.
not that I saw in 2023. I got up to 140 titles that have 2023 as their release
Holy
date.
shit, dude.
Um,
Wow.
and the
Now, how
amount of
does
movies
that
I saw in this
how does
year
that
was
compare to
250
previous years?
more, I think.
Okay.
Pandemic, maybe a little less than pandemic year because that was a little. There was like a week where I just watched 12 a day kind of shit.
Yeah.
Um, just a real weird time. But it's going to be about as high as it has in any year of my adult life. Just maximizing that. A lot of free time to myself,
Hmm.
prioritizing that. And once I started doing that and just saying, you know what, I'm not going to bother, going out all the time. I'm getting older. I'm feeling like staying in more and just watching 3 movies in one night is just a great evening now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I ranked in like when I was counting all the movies that I watched from last year that were released last year. I think my number got to 95. I saw like 101 movies in total in 2023, which
A lot.
trumps all my previous years from ever since I was like chronicling them. So I'm definitely
You're not including movies you've already seen that you're rewatching, correct?
if I included the movies that I rewatched that I've seen before, I get to 101. The brand new movies
I
that
see.
came out in 2023, I think it's like around 95, which is a lot for me. Like that's more than I've seen myself watch in previous years.
It's a lot because you also do a lot of pop culture intake. You're
Yeah.
an avid book reader. You're at the library every day
Well,
reading
maybe
books.
no, not that, but
Big book boy. No,
no,
other
no.
stuff.
Yeah, the
TV.
TV, like the TV and everything like that. Like I one of the things I did during the last couple of weeks is I binged watched that show Shrinking on Apple TV with Harrison Ford
Oof.
and Jason Segel. So good,
Yeah.
man. That is a really good series. I don't know if it's ever coming back, but I mean it should, but it was so well done. But yeah, I do tend to watch a lot of that stuff throughout the year, especially with all the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff and everything. So for me to get over 100 movies in a year is a lot. And I think the only reason I got that way was because, the festivals. I think the festivals helped out quite a
Oh
bit
yeah.
because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll also block up a lot of your time because a lot of that time is waiting in a line or
Hmm.
traveling to and from the festival. So then you're locked in watching a few. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So to go back to your question, the last movie I saw in theaters was The Color Purple,
Okay.
which we're not going to get into it, but it didn't make my end of the year list. I had a good time. I didn't think it was necessarily successful at the
Yeah.
end of the day as a movie/musical. There was something kind of off there on how it actually came out, but was it good and well performed? Writing, everything, yes. The last movie I actually saw was on Southwest Airlines. They had a really nice movies on their website for free, and I was like, oh well, I can watch the 2023 ones that aren't streaming anywhere except the Southwest
That's true.
Airlines internet
Yeah.
on air Wi-Fi. So I knocked out Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Then I
Oh,
got about 2/3 through About My Father, the Sebastian Maniscalco, Robert De Niro movie. Now, it's an ethical question. I saw about 2/3 of it, and I'd seen more than enough by that point. I logged it because I was like, well, it got over halfway, and I'm never going to be able to, I'm not going to like buy this thing. I saw enough to know like what the deal was with that movie. It was not good at all, and I don't want
yeah.
to torture myself. I'm counting that as I watched that in the year 2023. I saw enough to know kind of what its deal was.
Okay.
Unless the second half it goes totally bonkers and does a genre shift and is good in any way at all, then maybe someone let me know. But also, there's a weird short film that Southwest Airlines produced, and I'm pretty sure the only place you can see it is on their on plane Wi-Fi. It's called Alone in Tombstone. The ratings, it doesn't have an average rating on Letterboxd because so few people have seen it. It's the highest amount of people have given it any rating is 9 people gave it 2.5 stars. Basically, everyone else gave it either a half, a 1. I think I gave it a 1. It is just a real piece of trash filler for people sitting on an airplane. I don't know how we got to a world where
How does
Southwest
that
Airlines is
happen? Yeah.
dude,
How does Southwest produce a movie? Like, that is just so
listed on
bizarre.
producers. It just in the credits it says produced by Southwest Airlines, something
Now
like
that
that.
makes me wonder, has Delta done that too? Has American Airlines done that?
Is there like a competition or this
Yeah.
was a commercial that then became? It's not like at the end they're like, all right, now I'm gonna take my Southwest flight or something. I do not understand how it exists at all. If they were like, hey, we got to build out this library, should we make all original content? Some coked out executive goes, fuck yeah, start with a short film, let's see how it goes, and then just kill the program immediately. But you literally look it up on YouTube and it's on the Southwest Airlines YouTube
That's
account.
so strange. Is it now? Does it involve? Does it involve like flying and like airlines?
Great question. It's a ground-based movie.
Wow.
And now I was kind of paying attention, but every now and then they'd be like, hey, do you want peanuts or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
maybe I'm missing. This part makes more sense. Okay, I'm reading up on it because you're right, it is bonkers. And I didn't have internet. Generally, I just had free airplane movie internet. Someone won a writing contest celebrating Southwest's 50th anniversary. And it's not, there's a whole how did this get made? This is incredible. And it's what's weird is it's actually a movie product. Like you watch, you're like, oh, this is a short film. Oh, these have actors. This has a script. But at the end of it, you're like, what? Like it was completely hollow.
So weird.
You just bite into it, and it's just pure air.
Right.
It's really weird. So that's all I got for you on the backstory called Alone in Tombstone. If anyone wants to find it on their YouTube channel, apparently you don't have to buy a flight to go see this thing. So that's actually the last movie I watched. 2020.
Fascinating.
2023.
That's fascinating. Geez. Now it makes me wonder, like, how many other airlines have helped produce or done something for a movie, because it makes sense to provide something like that for your in-flight entertainment, saying like, oh, this is a Delta original, or this is like kind of like what Roku does sometimes when they have their own like unique Roku only movies or shows. I mean, that's how that Weird Al movie was debuted. It was like a Roku exclusive, I think, at one point.
It was one of the best movies of last year, and no one saw it.
No one saw it because it was on this
Similarly,
Roku
Alone in
thing.
Tombstone. Yeah. Just a corporate movie product. Yeah.
So weird. But yeah, that's fascinating. For me, the last movie I watched in theaters was Like You, The Color Purple. I had a chance to see that as my last theater experience. And then the last movie I watched in total, like as a whole, I finally watched Dumb Money, like the day
Oh,
before New Year's Eve,
nice. It's a good
because
one.
that
That's
was
a
always
good.
on my
You got
list of
some
things to
kill.
see.
What'd you
So
think? No, I've
I
never
thought
did
it
the
was,
full review on this. What'd you think?
yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, it was, a very, it's a typical story that we've gotten before, little guy versus big corporation. Like, I feel like we've seen that before already. I thought Paul Dano was perfect to in that role.
Yeah.
As like kind of the nerdy Robin Hoodie kind of character there. Especially, I love how movies do this. Whenever it's a movie based on a real person or a real situation, they like to show at the end of the movie kind of the clips of actual in real life scenarios that happened. And when you look at the real guy versus Paul Dano, they look almost exactly the same. I'm like, they couldn't have cast a better person for this. But yeah, no, I think overall it was pretty enjoyable. I was shocked again how fully cast that movie was. You had Seth
Rogan had a
Rogen,
small role. Yeah.
yeah, Seth Rogen, Pete Davidson, Nick Offerman, Shailene Woodley, America Ferrara, the
Right.
Hamilton guy. Who's that guy? Ramos, Anthony Ramos. Like, I was so surprised, like how many like big names were
This
in
is
this
a movie
movie.
show, so we call him the Star is Born guy. But yeah, Anthony Ramos.
Yeah, yeah. So and everyone pretty much did a good job for the most part. I think the one question I had myself was, it reminded me on Shailene Woodley, and she had another movie that came out in Christmas, Ferrari, the Michael Mann movie with Adam Driver, and it just makes me wonder, like, where is her career going? Because she is an interesting. I remember seeing her in, what's that, Fault in Our Stars. That was like her big up and come, like her introduction to the world for a lot of us who watch movies and all. And I thought she did an amazing job in that very emotionally driven movie. And she did a lot of those like teen sci-fi movies, that Divergent series. So she was like in Divergent, Allegiant, all that stuff. And ever since then, she hasn't really done much. She was always like a secondary or tertiary character in the movies that she's in. And I just asked myself, like, will she ever be like a main staple in any movie moving forward, or is it still too early to tell? Because I feel like someone like who's that actress again in the Twilight series that now is like an indie darling in a way?
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart, that's it. Yeah, sorry, my mind is like all over the place right now.
Okay, as long as you don't actually forget about her.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean. She has a big movie coming out this year. I forgot the name of it, but that looks pretty interesting. And an A24 movie, which looks like a revenge thriller type of movie. That looks really interesting. But she really like kind of grabbed onto the whole indie movie circuit, and she does really well in those movies. I don't know what Shailene's trying to do, and it's just one of those things where it just kind of, it just popped into my hands, like, is she a good actress? How do people or moviegoers, how do they perceive her and all that? Like, I don't know. Like, did you see Ferrari before the year ended?
And she's a really good actress. This is going to sound mean. I'm curious, and I'm not even saying this myself. I'm curious if folks don't like her on a movie poster, if that makes sense, as a grown woman. And there might be a problem there where Hollywood, because I'm also thinking, I just saw Anyone But You, the new Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney rom-com.
Right.
And it kind of, I was listening to someone talk about how she almost has the opposite problem, where she's very beautiful and might not necessarily be given, right, where it might be distracting, where she might not be given the roles that are the better fit or something like that. Shailene Woodley might have the opposite problem. I don't know that that's the case, but I'm kind of curious about it, if studios aren't necessarily going to put her at the front of a movie like that. There are some movies that it would work really well for, but maybe not as many roles as other folks. I don't know, though. It's just a hunch. I can't think of much else, because she's a really great actress. Like, she's solid at her craft.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those weird things where, you could be right, where it's just like she doesn't have like the looks of like a J Law or an Ana de Armas or whatever, or even what you just mentioned with because she's like a big name now,
Yeah.
Sweeney, right? So
Yeah.
she's like a hot ticket item ever since she was it Euphoria that she or
Yep.
right. So
Yep.
she became like this
Breakout.
hot ticket item like in Hollywood. And I remember when they were promoting this movie with Glenn Powell, I mean, they're like all over the place, and people are like trying to like put them together as a couple and all this stuff like that. And it's like she's getting all this attention. But then when I look at her, especially like in a trailer or something like that, I said, wow, she's gorgeous, but I don't know if she's a good actress. It's like one of those
I think
things.
she is.
Okay.
Season 2 of Euphoria, I think, proved her as a good actress.
Got it. Okay.
And the question was like, is this the right role for her? Some people are asking. I actually enjoyed it and enjoyed her performance, but I can kind of see what they're talking about, where
Right.
her comedy chops aren't necessarily there. She's not going to do the Jennifer Aniston J-Law thing quite as well as
Right.
like high quality comedy, beauty, movie poster, rom-com type person. But I personally liked it. It was maybe the script underserved her. Not sure though. But
Okay.
it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of people in Hollywood where we just see them kind of fall off, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh wait, where's that person been?" And like a Brie Larson might not be long for the world, or she might have a comeback and be, get a huge movie, and then that movie might flop, and you never know. There's so much business in those articles of what happened to person XYZ, and they're clickbait as hell, and I click them basically every time because I'm like, "Oh yeah, what did happen?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay,
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, is he okay? What's he do? What's he up to?"
Right. Right.
Okay, a lot of posing. So could be, you never know. But I mean, it is nice to see Shailene Woodley getting real work and good work,
No,
especially in a movie
absolutely.
like Ferrari, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's definitely like one of those actresses that can easily be forgotten. But she was pretty prominent in 2023. Again, a movie like Dumb Money, Ferrari, those are two major movies, in my opinion, that came out. So it's just interesting to see that happen. But yeah, and I'm sure in 2024 we're going to see a lot of that too, because the abundance of movies we're going to be getting because of the strikes or what have you, that things were pushed back. I think it was one of the things that we're going to find that's really interesting is Austin Butler. I think he's going to be one of those actors that's going to be everywhere because he's attached to so many things. But all of this stuff should have been spread out better ever since Elvis came out. But now we're going to be getting it all in one shot. He's in Dune. He's in that Bike Riders movie. And I think he's in one other one for next year. So it's going to be really interesting how people perceive him as far as, an actor in Hollywood and all that. But yeah, we are here to talk about all that stuff. And what we're going to be talking about right now is our top movies of 2023. This is one of the reasons why you tune into this episode, right? You listen to hear our hot takes and how they're going to vary and differ from all of those other hot takes and the top 10 list that you may have already heard or read about and all. So just some background on how we came across our overall MovieTime top 12 movies of the year. I'm sure the first question you're going to give us is why 12? Well, we don't want to do the whole generic top 10 thing. We like to give 2 extra spots to highlight 2 extra movies for the year. And plus, if we were to do a calendar of the top movies of every year, each movie deserves to have their own month. And that's why we do a top 12 instead of a top 10. So we celebrate the year in movies with 12 movies. And that's just how we approach things on our end. What we did is that Blake and I came up with our own personal top 12. We compared the list. We used a lot of high algorithmic calculations. We put it through a supercomputer. We asked ChatGPT to analyze everything. And then we kind of went through our Letterboxd ratings and we spat out what our final overall top 12 was. And we are including the MovieTime honorable mentions as well, because we feel like these movies should still be mentioned here. But like with any list, especially when you got several people involved in making a list, there are certain movies that don't necessarily make the final cut. But we do feel like they should at least be shouted out, at least, just kind of mentioned and talked about briefly. Blake has his own set of movies that didn't make the cut, and so do I. So let's just talk about those real quick. I'll start off here on my end, and I'll just run down the movies. I won't go too much in detail about a lot of them. But the movies I had on my top 12 and honorable mentions that didn't make the final cut, one was The Color Purple. I did actually really enjoy this movie. I thought it was very emotional. Yeah, it's kind of weird to see a lot of very heavy subject matter put into a musical format. I do feel like the musical numbers helped kind of ease the tension between seriousness. So it kind of allowed me to take a breather after watching such, strong stuff. But the performances all around was outstanding. Any one of the main actors and actresses featured in this movie could easily be considered for any awards. I mean, that's just how strong each of the performances were. I never seen the musical on Broadway. I honestly still haven't to this day watched fully the original Spielberg movie. But watching this now makes me want to go back and watch the Spielberg movie because obviously it's a more dramatic, more serious tone. So I think now I can stomach that, and I would want to go back and watch that. So that was on my top 12 list. Another one is Ryuichi Sakamoto's Opus. This is a movie I had a chance to watch during New York Film Festival. It is the last on-camera performance of Ryuichi Sakamoto before his passing. It was kind of a live concert to film movie that was made by his own son. So I thought this was a really well done. And, for someone who's not familiar with his work, you'd be surprised on how much of his compositions were part of major soundtracks of movies produced in Hollywood. And he plays a lot of that stuff. And then when you start hearing it, you're like, oh my God, I remember that from, this movie and that movie and all that. So it was very, very touching and amazing performance from Ryuichi Sakamoto. So, and it's just nice to see what is considered to be his last performance he's ever done before his passing. So that was really nice to see. Air, a movie that came out earlier in the year, really early in the year. I want to say like maybe end of January, February of last year. I thought that's one of those like great feel-good type of movies based off of true life events around Nike and the Jordan brand and all that. Great performances from Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. I felt the chemistry between the two kind of got rekindled after a while of not really seeing them collaborate together. So I thought it was a really well done movie. It did make some considerations as far as top list of the year, but I think because of how early it came out, it's been well forgotten, I think personally. And plus, we just got an abundance of stronger films that came out later in the year too. So I think it definitely got overshadowed. Another movie on my list that made honorable mentions on my personal side was No One Will Save You. This is the sci-fi thriller movie starring Caitlin Dever that's on Hulu. Very similar to A Quiet Place or Signs, but with no dialogue. Basically, you just have the strength of Caitlin Dever's performance carrying it throughout the whole movie. And I thought she did an amazing job. And it kind of brought back the whole, aliens are scary instead of being friendly kind of thing. So I thought that was really well done. And to round off my list here of honorable mentions is Jules, another alien movie, but of a different sort, where Jules is one of those most simple movies ever put on film, something you don't get to watch that much these days, but it had the same effect as a major blockbuster. Very simple effects, but it was charming. It was heartwarming. The story was well done, well written, and the performances were just the way they should be. And it's one of those things where you tend to forget movies can be of this caliber without having such a high Hollywood budget behind it. But it definitely had a lot of emotion, and it puts a focus on a community that's often overlooked, and that's like the elderly community. And that's basically what these people go through throughout the movie, as far as like having their own voice and having them finally heard and listened to with an alien involved in it all. So I thought it was very, very well done, and it surprised me. I wasn't expecting this movie to have that much of an impact on me last year, but it did. So So those are the movies I have on my personal side that didn't make the cut here on our final list. What about you there, Blake? What were some of the movies that didn't make the cut on your side?
I could spend a lot of time talking about these movies. These movies made a big impact on me, and mainly these are the ones that you didn't see or didn't
Mm-hmm.
quite make your list. But I'll try to be brief on them and go through, just do a little description and what I loved about it. First off, it was in my top 12, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, based on is an adaptation of a nonfiction book of the same name. Basically, a group of individuals. In the nonfiction, it's basically just going through social justice movements and arguing that property destruction is a valid tactic in pursuing environmental justice. And this movie makes a scenario where 8 individuals decide to blow up an oil pipeline at 2 key locations. It was very well made. The politics of it, I find interesting that it got made. I enjoyed the politics of it, but more it was the suspense was incredible to where there's a point you're not sure what's going to happen. And they've been doing the prepping and the planning, and they're worried they're going to get caught, and they're sneaking around. And they have this exact plan. It's kind of like a heist movie that ends with an explosion, and all you're trying to do is actually, I guess, the opposite of a heist. You're trying to destroy something and then leave in time. It was high quality anxiety cinema, very tense, but very worthwhile of a watch, I think. Next up, Fremont. I got to see this for a director Q&A and fell deeply in love with this movie. It is very much my style movie more than yours, because I'm the Jim Jarmusch fan of us and that 90s American indie cinema feel. This one was directed by Babak Jalali. It's about an Afghan refugee named Donya. She's living in Fremont, California. She'd worked as a translator before coming here and to California, and then is struggling with insomnia and loneliness, as she's only been in the US for 8 months, and gets a job at a fortune cookie factory. And it was very slow, black and white indie movie. I loved it a lot. The pacing, there was humor, but it was so subtle. It was exactly the kind of movie that I look for, and the reason why I like to go out of my way and not just see movies at AMC and go to IFC Center, like in this case. Another fun fact about this movie is Jeremy Allen White of The Bear and Iron Claw fame has just the smallest hunk role in it. He plays a mechanic that she kind of gets a little crush on, and it is such a small role in this movie. Like, how did they get Jeremy Allen White in this? I don't know, but incredible work and just a really fun. Oh, it's a superstar in this super indie movie now. This dude is everywhere. I just saw him in an underwear ad on my Instagram earlier today.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this guy's everywhere now. He's doing great.
He definitely had a big year last year.
Huge, big muscle year too. With Iron Claw. My goodness. Next up, I'll talk about Joyland. This movie, some people have it as a 2022 release. It's a 2023 movie in my mind. It gets released widely in 2023. It's this confusing thing that happens in our world where something will come out at a festival, might get released in its home country in a certain year. The main question we ask is, like, when did it get widest release in USA? More than anything, since that's where we're based. Every now and then we might play with the rules a little bit if it makes more sense. And then also, is it competing in this year's Oscars or last year's Oscars, etc.? That said, I'm counting it for this year. I got to see it I was in San Francisco for a few days, happened to be there when it was playing for the San Francisco International South Asian Film Festival. I'd heard really great things. It'd been on my watch list. It was just harder to find. It premiered at Cannes in 2022, back in May of that year. The basic plot is there's a patriarch, and his wife is forced to quit her job because the youngest son of the patriarch, her husband, finally gets a job, and he was having a difficult time getting a job in Pakistan, where the movie is set. And it's actually a Pakistani film. But he finds work in an erotic dance theater, and their complications arise when Haider becomes infatuated with Biba, a transgender dancer. There's kind of politics at the heart of this movie, but it's also family dynamics. There's some religious commentary happening throughout with tensions in the family, the gender dynamics, sexual orientation, how that's addressed, complications there. But it also, at the end of the day, is just a really lovely movie that doesn't necessarily get bogged down in the what's right, what's wrong. And it's some of those movies will really hit you over the head with a message. And this one, I think, was on its own terms, regardless of that, a high quality family drama and romance drama. That said, it is in a world where we have politics. And so it initially got banned in Pakistan. And then they made cuts and it finally got released there. But that's part of what got its attention. And then it ends up winning the jury prize at Cannes that year. So, and it won the Queer Palm Prize for Best LGBTQ themed film. So if you want a high quality movie, the kind of thing that's going to win international awards, definitely a great one to watch there. Blackberry, I think enough people have heard of this one. So a bunch of folks didn't see it. It was more of a select cities kind of release. Maybe it was in your AMC Select for a couple weeks, but a Canadian film starring Jay Baruchel, starring Glenn Howard from It's Always Sunny. Quality stars, had a real indie feel, real low budget, but they made a high budget product with it. And it was, to me, just as interesting and intense as a movie like Social Network without necessarily all the pizzazz around its release. I really enjoyed the story of the BlackBerry phone company, which we know now didn't really work out too well once the iPhone dropped, but you're seeing them create a groundbreaking technology product before the iPhone, which at the time was the phone. It was the iPhone of its day. And we know that. And then there's these little jokes that you'll kind of see or kind of say like, okay, we know this isn't going to end well. And there's someone making a speech about how this is the future and we're going to be dominant for 20, 30 years, like they have that kind of hubris and you're seeing how they'll fall. So just with that perspective, it was nice to watch, not Social Network where it becomes Facebook.
Right.
And instead it becomes BlackBerry. And so there's some comedy there. It's a good fit for that kind of low budget movie, but very entertaining. And I found it hilarious. I saw it with a couple bros on a bro movie night, and it was a perfect movie for that. Just a friend watch. Last one I'll mention is Cassandra.
The whole BlackBerry thing. I think it also suffers the same problem that Air suffers from, where it came out so early in the year that at the beginning of 2023, a lot of people were talking about BlackBerry when that movie came out, and then that just dissipated as the year kept going, and it has snuck into conversation from some of the top 10 lists I've seen, or at least consideration. But it's unfortunate that I think a movie like that I've heard nothing but great things about, kind of just fell along the wayside because of how early it came out in the year.
I've seen it on a lot of top 10 lists, but it's basically if you saw it, you loved it, and otherwise you haven't seen it yet. Mostly, it's such a good product. It is worth finding and seeking out and making time to see it any given time. I think it's one of those, it's for everybody basically. There's enough of different genres in there, but it's at the end of the day it's just an entertaining story that's told really well, and it feels good. And it's not just, your average Netflix schlock, which might also be like, oh, I was entertained for a couple hours. But this one was like, oh, that was actually really good. Cassandra is the last one I'll shout out, which is set in the late 1980s. Gay wrestler Sal Armendariz lives in El Paso, regularly crosses the border to Ciudad Juarez in Mexico to participate in lucha libre wrestling matches. He wrestles as El Topo until he meets a new trainer, Sabrina, who suggests he should compete as an exotico, leading to his new identity and an increasing success as Cassandro. So there's kind of a gay love story in the middle of this movie. Also, Bad Bunny has a cameo as an interest of Cassandro's, but they're also like partners in a business sense. If you're going just for Bad Bunny, you'll be disappointed, but I don't think you actually will be. It's one of those come for the Bad Bunny cameo, stay for the incredible movie. And in my mind, very Oscar-worthy performance from Gael Garcia Bernal. It's another one of those movies, came out maybe middle of the year, didn't get a big wide release, didn't get a big advertising push, but I was so moved, immediately gave it 5 stars. It's the main characters in the movie are his trainer and he and his mother, and he's having kind of an identity crisis, but he wants to just be accepted as a wrestler. and there's someone saying like, hey, you're gay, you could compete as an exotico, and there's all this stigma around it. But then he finds success in that world, and I found it to be a beautiful story, moving, and also just entertaining overall. So it's rare to get. This last year's, we've had a few of them, but it's rare to get those high quality indie sports movies. But between like it's kind of in the vein of an Iron Claw being a good couple notches less depressing. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it, and that's the last one I'll throw on my list of ones that couldn't make our finalists because we didn't see them I think all those movies deserve more recognition from general audiences.
Yeah. And again, we've said this before in our previous episode. 2023 was a strong ass year for movies. There were a lot of high quality movies that came out.
Fuck yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that because, when the writers and actor strikes happened, a lot of people weren't able to promote a lot of stuff that came out. Cassandra, I think, suffered from that. It would have been nice to see Gael promote it. If people were allowed to promote their stuff, I think more people would have been aware of this movie. Because I have heard, outside of you, I have heard other people talk about this movie and his role. So, especially within the Letterboxd community, I feel like this is one of those movies that has talked about a lot, like throughout the year. So, it's very, very interesting there. But it was very difficult for us to come up with our final top 12 because there were just so many good movies that came out. Especially if you look at each of our individual Letterboxd accounts. I told Blake, like, there are so many movies I gave 4-star ratings to, 5-star ratings to. So we're both individually different when it comes to our taste in movies too, which is fascinating because it allows us to talk in different points of views when we cover certain movies. So our lists were very different as far as what we were considering top 12. So to sort through all that, to kind of re-rank certain things and to have our conversations off camera was very interesting and fascinating. But we are very
controversial. Fist fights.
Controversial. A lot of you're an idiot, you're stupid.
At some point. I think it's great that we have different taste. I agree, but the main difference is you have bad taste in movies. You like bad movies.
Yeah, of course.
Movies. That's how it goes. So it was really hard to come up with this list.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with a list with someone who's so pretentious with their stuff. It's just unbelievable. But I will say this, and this is one of the things that makes me very proud of us. If you compared our list to what you see out there, there are a lot of differences, and we don't go along with the grain for the most part. The Holdovers didn't make our final list. Anatomy of a Fall didn't make our list.
It's a good movie. It's good.
Those are great movies.
Good. They're so greght. Yeah, they're great.
But there's so many other movies, in our opinion, that were better than those two. Yeah.
I'm asking, are you great? But also, was I entertained? Did I enjoy you?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe did I have fun? Or if you wanted me to cry, did I cry? If you wanted to scare me, was I scared? If you wanted me to dance, did I dance? These are some of my questions when I ask them. Not just like, are you a well-written, well-reviewed thing for critics to fawn over? Because those movies are that, and they are very good. And I was entertained by both of them. I'm not trying to say they're not good.
No.
But top 10? Time at the movies? Top 10, I would recommend this to my friends. Top 10, Saturday I'm hungover and I want to put this on.
Yeah.
No, I'm not putting on Anatomy of a Fall on just any old day. So there's a lot of different ways to watch movies. And there's only one way I watch Anatomy of a Fall, which is people go, you got to see this. It's really well done. I go, wow, that was really well done. And like a lot of buildings that are very well constructed, I walk by them and I go, okay, take it or leave it. Cool. Thank you. Good job. It's a great structure to that thing.
Yeah.
Very well crafted. Good job.
Yeah. And then again, I think another thing to put up also is like rewatchability. I always think about that when it comes to the movies, and very similar to what you're saying. If I'm at home and I happen to have access to any of these movies, will I watch them again? Anything from our list, would I watch them again? And I think I'm safe to say like 90% of the movies that we have on our list, I would rewatch again very easily. And I
think critics. The typical critic choice is what's the movie you're least likely to rewatch? That's what it's
very well done.
What's the movie that's so painful? It's so good at just making you feel like shit that you're never going to be able to put it on again. Give it the Oscar right now. Yeah. put on your top 10 list.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's so funny hearing other pundits and critics blast these lists and just saying that there's this one guy I follow on Twitter, and he's seeing all of these top 10 lists, and he's calling all of them out, saying, are you guys so afraid to be individuals? Are you all just agreeing in a conglomerate that these are the movies that everyone should consider top 10? You gotta be kidding me, guys. Like, it's just so funny seeing all the discourse and all that, So that's why I'm very proud of our list, because our list is indeed very different. Now, there are similarities to what you see out there, but there are differences, but it speaks more to our personalities and how we perceive movies in general. So,
you and I have some differences. You're more likely to enjoy a horror movie, a sci-fi fantasy movie, a comic book movie. You're going to be more ingrained in some of those things and understand their language better. I'm going to be more the person who show me a sunset with a monologue by Terrence Malick over it. I'm going to really have a great ass time for no good reason. I like torturing myself a little bit more than you. Love reading subtitles when I'm at the movies. But at the end of the day, we both are open about what we enjoy and like. Absolutely. And so I can watch a movie in a genre I don't love and go, wow, that was really well made. I enjoyed it. We're sensitive in that, like, we can be moved by different kinds of things. And that includes blockbusters, comedies. Like, if I was nominating for Best Actors, which we'll get to, I think, next week, or at least soon, of who we would put forth in those types of categories, I'm putting a lot of comedy people in mind. It's one of those, or in physical action and stuff like that. So you and I can be moved by the Three Stooges, and we can be moved by Killers of the Flower Moon and anything in between those. I think that's a good thing. And that actually represents not necessarily what the general public would spend money on at a box office, but maybe what they would actually, if you were to show them all the movies, what they might go, that was really good. That was a high quality product, but also I enjoyed it as a movie. I think that's something unique about you and I, that we have some overlap there. So I'm actually kind of proud of our list, to be honest.
I'm extremely happy about it.
I would hand it to anyone and say, you'll enjoy watching these movies. And I bet I would feel confident that would be, I would stand by it in a year, 10 years.
No, absolutely. And obviously we would love to hear your thoughts on this list when we reveal it. So definitely share your thoughts and comments if you're watching this on YouTube as a clip out, or if you're on listening to us on your podcast platform of preference. Definitely let us know in the Q&A section on Spotify. I think iTunes doesn't have such a thing. So the best way to kind of reach out or share your thoughts and comments is to send an email to this special email address that we have listed and dedicated to this show in the description of the episode. And like we always say that, whatever we receive, we could feature in a future episode and read them out loud and all that. So without further ado, before we go into our top 12, there were 6 movies that didn't make our final top 12. Again, it's just us giving an excuse to highlight more movies that we saw last year that deserve to be part of any kind of conversation. So I'll just quickly go through this honorable mentions of 6 honorable mentions that didn't make our final top 12 as a group here. So 1, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think we both agree that this was a very well done animated movie. It definitely was a level up from the previous movie, but it just didn't make our final top 12 overall. Last year was strong with animation. I think you could easily say between this, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Boy and Heron, like there's a lot of strong contenders as far as animated film is concerned. Another movie on our list, on the honorable mentions here, Zone of Interest. This is one of those movies that could be kind of controversial, but I think we both agree that it was well directed, well performed, and it was just overall very creepy in its own way as far as subject matter is concerned. It's a Holocaust movie, but done in a different way. And I think we both really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think if the year wasn't as strong as it was, this could have easily been in our top 12 at the end of the day. And it could be in others' top 12 as well. And I think it may be sneaking in there from depending on who the critic or pundit is. Next here we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think this is Disney's and Marvel's only shining light from 2023, in my opinion, which really sucks for them. But it was a perfect closeout to a well-known group that we have been following for so many years now. It is a good closeout to that trilogy that James Gunn was working on with Marvel before he moves on to DC. And I think it was just a good story overall. Very emotional, had all of that stuff. It checked up a lot of the check boxes that we usually look for when it comes to movies. Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning Part 1 of 100. That's it's written down here. But that is another great movie that came out last year, tied to a very successful franchise that both Blake and I enjoyed thoroughly. Tom Cruise is great. Everyone in this movie was great. I think Haley Atwell is the one that stood out the most for me personally in this movie. I think because it's a part one, it kind of did feel a little setup-y in a way. And I think if it was a self-contained movie, this had a better choice to probably be in a final top 12. Our thoughts may change once part 2 comes out. So that'll be something interesting to kind of look back on and see how it all ranks up after that's all said and done. Leave the World Behind is another movie that came out last year. It was a Netflix exclusive. I was surprised that Blake and I had very similar thoughts on this movie. I think the great story is that we met up for a trivia night one night and we just couldn't stop talking about it. We're like, dude, did you watch this movie? Right? Do you remember that?
Yeah. No, it's one of the times near the end of the year, because there's a lot of Oscars-y, awards-y stuff we watch. And there's also a lot of like studio stuff that we're not. It's one of the last movies I got really excited about.
Yeah.
And my expectations were real low. Thought it was going to be some Netflix crap. And then I looked at the cast, the director, and I go, this might actually be something. And holy shit, high quality. And I was very entertained. That's about all I could ask for.
Yeah.
Is those are the two metrics we kept looking at with these lists: is what was your favorite, but what was better? And you kind of have that little push pull when you're analyzing these things. I think on both counts, high quality.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say this, I said this in my review and I still stand by this. I think this is one of Julia Roberts' best performance she has in recent years, because I can't tell you any movie she's done maybe in the last 3-4 years that I would say is decent, in my opinion. Like, this is the one that really stood out for me because she played against type, which I love when actors and actresses do this. She played a Karen, and it was just so good seeing that, and like seeing how the movie opened too, how she kind of did that quick 180. I just love it. You knew what you were getting from her in the beginning, and it was just so well done. So I love that we had this on our honorable mentions. And last on our honorable mentions here is Little Mermaid. I think this is one of the more successful of the live action remakes Disney has put out there. I definitely kind of put this up along with Cinderella as some of their best live action remakes out there. Halle Bailey is fantastic in this role. I thought overall the movie was very enjoyable, a fun time at the theater, despite the two slobs that kind of almost ruined it for me. This is like my infamous story from last year. Out of all my theater experiences, this is the one that stands out the most out of 2023, when I basically had my own commentary soundtrack right next to me, as the movie was playing out. But still, I enjoyed the movie thoroughly, and I think there's a reason why it made our honorable mentions here overall, for our overall list. So yeah, any final thoughts, comments on this honorable mentions list here? Anything you wanted to throw in there before we go into our big top 12?
No, I love it. I love that there's the indie movies here. We're going to have more of the blockbustery stuff in the honorable mentions that one of us enjoyed more than the other. Yeah. I think Spider-Verse being honorable mention and not in the top 12 is controversial for some folks. Sure. I know it was in your top 12, so I'll bite the bullet on that one. A lot of people have it as their number one. It is the best rated Letterboxd movie of 2023.
Yeah.
As far as folks who look at movies the way we do, a lot of people have it as their number one, top 5, etc. For me, it's more about the genre. It was a continuation of the previous one. I'm not going to shit talk it. It is a great, great movie. It just didn't get into my top 12. And so that's why once we kind of did our rankings as such, it gets knocked into the honorable mentions just because of the system we set up for ourselves.
Right.
But we both agree, really good movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't agree that it's a top 12 for me personally. And so once we looked at our personal lists, I wonder if we actually asked ourselves, what are the best movies without what did you enjoy more? What felt better to you to watch? I wonder what we'd come up with, because there really are two different lists.
For sure.
Often I'll fill out 3 Oscar ballots. One's the prediction, which you and I compete with. The other one is what I personally want to win. And then the other one is what I think should win.
Right.
I know a lot of folks have a hard time divorcing that within themselves, but I don't. I'm able to go, oh yeah, because of my weird biases, this one spoke to me and I'm aware of that. Whereas a lot of people will say, hey, this character is similar to me. That's why this was a good movie. And it's not necessarily that simple. So with our biases in mind, I'm pretty proud of this honorable mentions list.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, it's what makes us stand out, because again, we have a lot of differences, but also similarities when we approach movies and how we kind of view them and all that. And even though like you may not be into horror or animation as much, you know, I definitely fill in that gap. And you definitely do tackle more of like the indie movies and foreign movies than I get a chance to watch and everything. So if anything, we learn from each other as we do these things every year. And sometimes you'll highlight something that I'll be like, oh, I really definitely want to check that out because I haven't had a chance to yet, and vice versa. So we definitely complement each other when it comes to that. So with that being said, our final top 12 movies of 2023, our top 12. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Coming in at number 12, which is going to surprise a lot of people, Barbie. Barbie made our top 12, but at the bottom of our list. I think we both agreed. Now, this didn't make my personal top 12, but it made yours. But I do agree that this was a very well done, smart written movie. It was funny. It was poignant. Great performance. I think when it comes to the performances, that's one of the things that I find that is polarizing about this in a way, is that you have Margot Robbie playing the main titular character in Barbie, but yet she, in my opinion, was not the overall best performance of the whole movie. You have Ryan Gosling, who plays her counterpart, Ken, who stood out amongst everyone within the whole film.
You prefer the male actors in Barbie, and you were saying off mic, the reason it's not in your top 12 is there were too many women in the movie, and that women are overrepresented in Hollywood, and that's why you're like, this isn't for me, so therefore, fuck you. I'm not.
2023 was too woke, man. I mean, we got the point. All right, we got the point. Every female had to have their starlight, their spotlight. I get it.
Renee, you are Knuff, and you will be Knuff, and it's okay. No, I'm being facetious. Obviously, you're right. It's a very good movie. What I couldn't tell, part of what it was like an itch when I was making this, that I kept going back, and it was like a cut on the roof of my mouth. Like I was going, is this actually a great movie, or did I just have a great time at the movies watching it? Yeah. And it was the one that I had the hardest time, because more than that, it was a cultural moment of a movie. Yeah. It was so tight. And Oppenheimer I had a similar problem with, because it was an event as much as it was a movie, and then people are reacting to the reactions of it. Right. I'm reacting to how folks are dressed in the lobby while I'm going to see it. Yeah, all of those things will impact your experience of watching the movie, and thus bias you with how you think of it. Actually, this is at the bottom of my top 12 list. There's a version where it's my number 1 or 2 movie of the year, if I were able to better parse through those details. So what I basically did was, I know this is a top 12 movie. I reminded myself, written and directed by Greta Gerwig, co-written with Noah Baumbach. Some of my favorite actors are all throughout this thing. It is a really well-crafted movie. I laughed a lot at the theater. I literally cried. A lot of folks had the same reactions with me. Saw it multiple times in theaters. There's not many metrics you could measure a movie by other than those to say, did you enjoy it? Was it effective? So in some ways, it is like a top 3 movie easily for me. But through that noise and then some of the stigma attached to it or whatever, it kind of gets watered down as something I'm able to judge clearly. And that's why it was at the bottom of my top 12.
Yeah. I think with me also, I was somewhat affected because I did get to see this movie very early, ahead of everybody else when they were doing test screenings for it. And then since I already saw it, I felt like all the
I don't
initial,
feel an experience from. I've stopped doing those for that
yeah,
reason.
yeah, and it sucks because like now when I saw it in the theater after that, all the initial kind of surprising moments or laugh out loud moments were already I already experienced that, right? So yeah, when I saw it the first time, I didn't see it with the Lizzo song in the background where she's kind of narrating everything that you're seeing on screen, which I thought
My
was
favorite song of the movie. Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah, it's smart. It works really well, and I enjoyed that. But I felt like every other thing was already kind of spoiled for me. So seeing it a second time, I didn't have the same impact as it did like the first time I saw it. Not discounting it, it's just for me personally. That's one of the reasons why I feel like there are so many other movies that kind of ranked higher for me because of that unfortunate mishap on my part. But I'm not discounting that it's not a good movie.
You said it had a different ending in your screening, right? You
Yeah,
said
it
at
had.
the end she got a machine gun and they had a feminist
That's
revolution. They
right. Yeah,
defected and they ended up. It was apparently really bloody, from what you were telling me.
yeah. She formed a group called the Fox Five, and basically she took like the five top badass Barbies, and they kind of invaded a real world after she got her gynecology test, and she just went to town on all the fucking higher ups in corporate America, all male, of course.
You're about to get a lifetime ban from those screenings for lying about that, but that's probably for the best, dude. Because I'm serious. Maestro, it wasn't ruined for me, but it definitely. I was watching it, going like, "Well, the sound's off here." Oh,
Yeah,
and then someone told me that the ending, and that's when I go, "Well, I need to rewatch this ASAP," because apparently I had a
yeah,
different ending than everybody else. That'll totally pervert the actual movie that you're watching. Is
sure,
the ending is huge.
yeah,
So I think I might be done with those things, especially since we're doing this. And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it'll change things.
Yeah, it again. It's like the plus and minus. There's a
Yeah.
positive and negative when you go to those things. Of course, you're excited to see it early.
I was jealous that you saw Barbie. I
Oh,
was
dude,
jealous.
I was shocked I was able to go because it was just one of those
Yeah.
things. Like, are you serious? They're like doing this now, this early for this big tent pole of a movie for the year. So of course I had to hop on it when I had the opportunity to. Am I happy I did? I am. Am I disappointed that I did it, having it ruin the real effect of when the movie came out? Kinda. But it is what it is. But like I said, it doesn't discount the movie for me. Does it affect if it was a 5 versus a 4-star rating? Maybe a little bit. Maybe there was like a little bias there, a little bit. But still, at the end of the day, I gave it a 4-star and I hearted it. So again, not discounting that it was in a good movie, but for a lot of people, this would definitely, like you said, be higher up on the list than it is on ours. Next movie on this list is The Killer. That is the Michael Fassbender Netflix movie that came out. This was one of those movies that I think I would have loved to have seen get a more theatrical release. I think this is one of those that if it had a theatrical presence and you had Michael Fassbender promoting it, I think this could have been a very well performed movie in the theaters. It was so well done. It was very, very interesting to see this character piece on kind of a hitman who had a bad day. That's basically what happened. And a hitman who's very, very particular about how he goes about everything. Yeah.
Precise.
Very
Yeah.
precise. And one
Philosophical,
thing goes
kind of.
wrong. Yeah.
Get all those post-it note affirmations he would repeat to himself while he
Right.
was doing his assassination, and then everything
Right.
goes wrong, and you realize, oh, he's not even a reliable narrator. He's not even doing the things he says he should be doing.
Right. Yeah.
When I watched it a second time, I really enjoyed it because I thought of it more as a comedy,
Mhm.
and it was fucking funny because you have this guy who's so precise. He has all his. This isn't actually what happens, but like the kid who shows up to class has all their pencils in order and everything,
Yep.
and they give him the different tests. You're like, fuck. All this preaching he'd been doing just goes throw it out the window and just has to scramble. It's really funny in that kind of way. I think a lot of people thought it was more of a serious assassination, David Fincher, men rule, fucking badass guns blazing movie, and it's not that.
No.
It is
No.
more of a thinker. And on second view and looking back at it, I go like, oh, he wasn't trying to say, oh, they're not trying to say what the guy's narration was. They're actually trying to say something very much deeper than that.
Yeah.
And to me, much funnier when you look at it that way. So second viewing this one, it blew it out of the water for me. Really loved it.
Yeah, the whole beginning setup of him preparing for this one job that he has to do, it was so intense, and it really puts you into his mind frame, right? Like into like setting everything up, always wearing the same clothes, always walking the same paths, always putting on the same stuff. And then the minute where he botches the assassination, it was just like, oh shit, what just happened? And then everything was just like, what? It was just so funny to see that all play out. But he did a really amazing job, Fassbender did, in acting in that role. And of course, you have Fincher, who does such a great job putting the movie together and creating kind of that suspense and that feel. It reminded me a lot of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in a way. There were like some moments in there that kind of felt familiar. But it was just nice to see a movie like that I really thoroughly enjoyed. That wasn't what I was originally expecting. And just seeing like it again, it's just a peek behind the mind of someone who just wasn't having a good day and just trying to recuperate from that. I just thought that was like really, really, and it's very relatable too, which I thought that was another thing that I enjoyed about this movie. Next on our list here is Godzilla -1. I think this is a big surprise for both of us because I don't think we were expecting to have this movie in our top 10 list at the end of the year, top 12 in our case. This was a movie that I originally rated it 4 stars, and then after watching it again, I changed my rating to 5 because of how well the human aspect was really done in this film, the emotions and everything. This was a Godzilla monster flick that I never expected to enjoy as much as I did here. More than the, big monster wrecking a town and going crazy and monster being a monster. But I cared about the humans involved as well, which is something that a lot of these movies lack and they suffer from. So I was really thrilled and happy to see how this movie came out. A movie that had such a small budget, that is a foreign movie, came out from Japan with subtitles. Something that a lot of people were not expecting to love. I never shared this story with you. When I saw the movie a second time, this was like, a week or two after its original release in theaters. So of course there are lesser people in the theater, but I went to see it at night, and I would say there were like maybe 10 other people in the theater watching this with me. There's this one girl who was part of a group in the back who overly reacted to everything, but not in a bad way, but in a really good way, where, like all the things were happening. She was like, oh my God. She's like, what? Especially like the moment both you and I kind of freaked out on is when the main actress pushes the guy away from the atomic blast, and then she gets blown away. She screamed in the theater, and she was like, no, like that. And then when it was revealed at the end that she was still alive, she like out loud started sobbing in the theater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like she went through an emotional roller coaster, this poor thing. And when I left the theater, I saw her with her group of friends, and I heard her say, I'm so sorry I reacted the way I did. I just wasn't expecting myself to get so emotionally attached to this movie. And it's funny because I think a lot of people had that same reaction too. Wouldn't you say?
100%. That's the one of the first draws of the movie is, you thought this was going to be a low budget monster movie.
Yeah.
No. And it was low budget compared to like what an American monster movie would be.
Yeah.
But it was a very good product, very human story, had a lot of heart to it, which is why partially that it didn't end up making my top 12 and was very highly ranked on yours, which is how it got this low on the list. Similar to Barbie, there's another version where this is a top 3 for me, or it's just out of my list, which is the version that we end up with here. But on our mutual list, there was a little bit more of the human drama, and it dragged a little more. As far as an overall movie compared to any other Godzilla movie I've ever seen, it is by far the best one in my mind. Any monster movie maybe ever. And I like the human aspect of those movies, But to me, it kind of, in a way, it drags in those, but that's also what makes it special. So if you want to go just for the monster movie, it's a bit slow and drags at parts, and it's not just pure entertainment. It's actually kind of miserable at parts. You're worried about the child. You're watching someone suffer PTSD. You're seeing someone going missing from a nuclear blast. It did what Oppenheimer wasn't willing and maybe shouldn't have done rightly, was show actually, it's not actually a nuclear. Is it actually a nuclear blast in -1? Is it nuclear technology that's coming out? Anyway, when they get blasted and the city gets rocked in -1, if it's not nuclear, it's a metaphor for it. But you're actually seeing that in the human side of that experience and watching him walk away, almost like the movie The Pianist, where there's like this man sadly trudging through an empty street with, things blowing in the wind in the background. And it's pretty sad at times. And so I think that's part of why it didn't rate as highly. Is it's almost like it's another one that gets lost in that algorithm of like, hey, it's a very well-made movie and it was very impactful for me in 2 different ways. So if I wanted to go watch a sad drama, it would be good at that, except bad at it during the fun, awesome, cool monster parts. And if I wanted to just go watch a cool, fun monster movie, it's bad at that during the drama parts. So I think overall, if I were to just go with best movies, I think it's way up there, much higher on my list than it actually ended up being. So I can't disagree with anything you said, though. Very good movie.
Yeah, definitely, and that's why I think it definitely deserves a spot in our top 12 overall. Next movie that deserved a spot here was Past Lives. For many people out there, Past Lives is probably their top 3, top 2, 1. I saw this as the best movie for a lot of people out there. This definitely ranked high on my personal list. It was like 5th on my list. It didn't make Blake's top 12 at all. But I think we both can agree that it was a very, very well done, amazing debut movie for the director there, Celine Song, and one of the best performances of the year from Greta Lee. There's a reason why she's being talked about and very highly considered for actress nomination in award season, and is just an emotional roller coaster ride of a movie, with the New York being a backdrop in most of the movie too. I love when they do that, because it does play as a character in the film as well. But yeah, it's just, I mean, we talked about this movie before. It's just one of those movies that really help tell a story of, unrealized love, past love, what if scenarios and all that. And the strength of a person's resolve when your partner is going through a kind of like a revelation crisis like that. The ending itself knocked me on my ass emotionally. Like, it was like very gut-wrenching. But it was just one of those movies that really stood out to me and stayed with me as the year was going. This did come out early in the summer, so I was afraid it was going to get forgotten. But it stuck. It was one of those few movies that really stayed on throughout the year. So I thoroughly enjoyed this movie a lot, and all that. Now, for you, why didn't it make your top 12 overall?
It was basically the last film to get cut from my list. It was right there. Another thing we talked about when we were going through our how we make these decisions and how do we actually decide on a final mutual list was the reaction you have going out of the theater when you rate the movie, and then how it ages with you, and then if you rewatch it, how that changes your experience, and what's actually the truest rating. Is it the one that I have today? Is it the one, if I were to average out my rating over the last 8 months, which I'm not going to do with every movie, that bonkers to wake up every day and go, well, how do you feel about Past Lives today?
Right.
And then aggregate all that. I remember when I left the movie, I felt underwhelmed. And then you and I talked about it afterward, and my rating went up by a lot. So part of what I do rate a movie on, though, is my experience while it's happening and immediately afterward. So there's times I'm on a high leaving a movie theater, and that will give it a juiced rating on Letterboxd. And sometimes I'll bring those down a little bit as I sober up off the movie experience. But oftentimes I'll say, well, that's part of it, too. If the movie's giving me a cinematic rush in some way, then it's effective, even if it didn't have this substance of, a holdovers or something like that.
Right.
I actually do think that's a valid thing. I want the movie to have an effect on me. This one, it was more of a lingering effect and more of the kind of thing that stays with you. And I've heard that also from a lot of people. I expected it, I think, to be more of a tearjerker in the traditional, like, oh, it's so depressing, it'll rip your heart out. It was much subtler than that, and more of a thinker heartbreak kind of movie of, oh, human life is very complicated.
Yeah.
Things aren't always simple. You don't always know exactly how the past would have turned out. It's asking the next level of deeper questions than just a movie that goes, hey, this guy, Iron Claw, which is why I didn't rate that one very highly. We haven't really talked about it, but we're not going to get into it now. But it was very depressing and wasn't asking a lot of deep questions. There's some substance there. Past Lives is the opposite. It was not hitting you over the head with a hammer of sadness. It was more of a glancing blow that you then realize, like, oh fuck, I've been cut. So that said, that's why it was barely out. And when I tell you, it was literally, there was 2 movies at the end. I was going, okay, which one do I take in? Which one? And part of me as a contrarian would rather put in a Little Mermaid and have a fun little debate over that and say, well, here's why. And it was funner and it was a more entertaining movie. And I was moved, saw it 3 times in theaters, etc. There are reasons why I end up with that list, not just for contrarian's sake, but at the end of the day, I might not put a holdovers on my list, even if I think it's as equally valid as, a few of the other ones that made our lists.
Right. As far as like what else made our list, going into the next one here, John Wick 4. John Wick 4 was part of your top 12. It was high up there. It was number 3, I believe, on your top 12. And it didn't make mine at all. But I did rate it 4 stars on Letterboxd. I think when you compare this to Mission Impossible 7, this was probably the better of the action films that came out last year. It's definitely by far the best action film, in my opinion, that came out last year. There's several scenes in there that you and I couldn't stop talking about as far as crazy, full-blown action. And the way it was choreographed and shot. It was just brilliantly done on film. And again, Keanu just continues doing the role that he is perfect for. And that is this non-dialogue heavy kind of action-based movie that relies on a lot of his action prowess. And he does that very well, especially in his older age right now. So it's a great continuation of the story. And I don't know, proper ending based on how things ended up, we don't know. We're getting a spin-off next year, Ballerina, that spawns off of the John Wick franchise. Are we ever going to get another Keanu one? We don't know. But if it ends on this note, I think it's a happy note to end on. And it was just very well done.
100%. It's one that I watched multiple times in theaters. Couldn't get enough of. It's number 3 on my list. There's another version of my list where it's number 8 or something like that. I'm looking over my list. In fact, I have it above Oppenheimer's Bonkers. I could switch those. I could switch it with Saltburn, which I saw more times in theaters.
Yeah.
But like I was talking about earlier, when you have that high off of a movie, I was looking back at the list and going, even just like thinking back on it in December and going like, okay, yeah, it was a really good action movie. There was good physical acting. Donnie Yen's character was absolutely incredible. The plot, the premise, and you start going through, and if you were to actually do some translating of, okay, if physical acting and comedic acting and acting are equally valid, it's got great acting in it. If you look at a script, not just as smart, witty Aaron Sorkin dialogue and good one-liners, but instead of how the plot is set up. And if you were to look at even like the fight choreography as dialogue, oh my God, it was some of the best, sparring, not verbal sparring, but actual sparring that I've ever seen. This might be one of the best action movies, maybe not the cinematography and the directing and editing of it, which it's good for that, but it might be one of the best quality action movies that I've seen. It's like Atomic Blonde is up there. Other John Wicks are up there. There's some more classic contenders, but I also think that modern action movies are generally better than a lot of things from the 70s when they're having to edit more and cut more, and you didn't actually get to see the thing in a believable way. When you're dragged up and down those stairs, that was one of the most amazing and immersive movie experiences I had in last year. So if I look at it that way, to me, it is right up there with any other film of the year. and it's not going to get taken seriously because it's an action movie, and it's not going to get even maybe some of the lower Oscar contention for some of those lower Oscar awards because when it was released or any number of reasons. But what was the most successful movie of the year? It's definitely in my top 5, top 10 for sure. And that's why I had it rated so high, and which kind of pushed it into our top 12.
Right. Yeah. And again, I don't blame you for feeling that way for this movie because again, when we were talking about this movie, we couldn't stop talking about like the staircase scene, the ceiling shot as he's going around with the fiery shotgun shells and all
the
that.
Oneer in there that was a really long Oneer.
My God,
it was that video game feel.
Yeah,
and
the top view. Yeah, just going from room to room and beating all the guys coming out of all the woodwork and everything. It's just it's unbelievable how they were able to film that and choreograph it all. So yeah, I don't blame us at all for having this in our top 12. And like I said, definitely one of the best action movies of last year. Speaking of a movie that we mentioned before, Boy and the Heron. This is next on our list. What's that?
I said Heron earlier because I was being silly. I'm so sorry. I maybe threw you.
Is it Heron or Heron? I don't know.
Heron, like the bird. Maybe,
Heron.
Maybe some people. Maybe I don't know. You're from New York. Maybe y'all say Heron.
I don't know. Yeah, there are people who call
on your head.
There are people that says Reese's and Reese's. So I don't know where
I'm not gonna. All right, forget it. I'm sorry. Whatever everyone say, I'm cool. My bad.
The Boy and the Damn Bird with the long beak.
Yeah. Bird Boy.
Bird Boy
movie.
The Bird Boy movie with that Miyazaki eye. But yeah, this is again a return to form for Miyazaki Studio Ghibli. I think this is like one of those things where when you talk about masterpieces as far as its genre is concerned, it's hard pressed you to not consider this as a masterpiece, and it is definitely in a lot of people's minds and lists a masterpiece in their point of view. I think you and I, we just thoroughly enjoyed it for not only the animation, but the story of it all. This made your personal honorable mention. It made my top 12. So that's why it's here on the list here. But like I said, for a lot of people, this would probably be really high up there as far as 2023 is concerned. But definitely one of the best animated movies we've seen in the last year or two. So that's why it made our list here. Next here, and are we in our top 6 now? From our list, let's
3,
see,
4, 5, 6, baby.
All right, our top 6 here. So, number 6, we have Maestro. This is, I think, if this is Barbie for you, as Barbie was for me, because you saw this earlier as a test screening, which may have affected your feeling of the movie as a whole. When I saw it, this was just it was a very well done movie, but it was only in my honorable mentions in my personal list, and this made your top 12. But Bradley Cooper is brilliant in this. This is his second movie he's directed that really takes it up another level. His chemistry with Carey Mulligan is fantastic. I love the use of periods when it comes to telling the story. How you have your black and white 50s period, you have your 60s, 70s, like kind of Technicolor period. And then your 80s kind of like, vibrant kind of period there. Bradley has put himself through a lot makeup wise in portraying good old Lenny. I want to make sure I say this name right because I was just recently called out that it is Bernstein and not Bernstein. So I apologize for making that gaffe in pronouncing his name. I don't want to upset anyone. So
I'm sure it's pronounced Heron. But go ahead.
Lenny Heron or Heron. Yeah.
Boy in the Leonard Bernstein. Yeah. Okay.
The boy in the Bernstein Bears. But
and the Cocaine Bears. Yeah.
The Cocaine Bears. There you go. But
sorry,
Maestro.
I didn't mean to spoil our number 1 movie of the year. My bad. Sorry.
Oh man, see, you yeah, you went way too ahead of it. All right, it's fine. We'll try to make it as exciting as possible when we get to it. But Cocaine Bear and Stain Bears and Heron. But Maestro was just a really well done movie in our opinion. Again, the live music to film is brilliantly done as well. And it was just a great overall experience for me. But since it was part of your top 12, why did it rank so much higher for you than it did compared to my list?
The worst version of this movie is that it's too self-indulgent for Bradley Cooper and that it's Oscar bait pulp. I disagree with that. I think it was a very effective performance on his part, a very interesting life story told very well. The directing and editing are a little loud at parts. When I rewatched it, I guess it would have been a third time recently. I really noticed kind of the sound of the camera, if you will, where the decisions that he's making as the director. That said, I am not turned off by someone giving it their all, putting themselves out there, and really showing their ass and putting their neck on the line for a movie. I think a lot of people are turned off by the sincerity and earnestness of Bradley Cooper and his performance and him trying so damn hard to tell the story. I found it very compelling and moving. Maybe there's a couple decisions people had problems with that I wouldn't have done, and some of them I actually think make the movie even better. At the end of the day, some folks have said they wish this is more of a story about the wife. Right. And when I left and when we talked about it, when we reviewed it, I don't disagree entirely. I think that we've talked about this a lot in the last couple of years. There's the great man theory, and there's a lot of movies now that are taking down the great man theory. In some ways, this could be called Tar 2, The Rise of the Maestro.
Right.
It's like a prequel, I guess. I don't know. Nonetheless, I think that it was the way it was told and segmented off, and you chop around through his life, and it's kind of like the movie Jobs. Someone compared it to, where it's just these big moments of his life, and you get some surrounding context, and then you move on. Yeah. I found all of that well done, well written, well acted. The score, or the sound in the movie. I even enjoyed the cinematography and editing. I like louder cinematography and editing choices than some folks. I think that's okay. Some folks think it's like a haircut where you shouldn't be able to see it. I'm okay with seeing it and noticing, oh, the aspect ratio changed here, or oh, this is black and white for a reason. What does that mean? I'm perfectly fucking fine with that, even if it might be obvious or you can notice it. That's okay. I'm sounding defensive, I think, because there's been a lot of people. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. It seems like not a lot of people end up loving this movie. Some folks are wanting just more of the entertaining biopic, and they're just throwing it on Netflix thinking, oh, this will be an entertaining story about this dude's life. And it's more challenging than that. I think other folks are reacting to it thinking it is Oscar's bait, or it's trying to be, or something like that. I think it's actually a special movie with a unique point of view told by a very unique storyteller. So far, I love Star is Born. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I also love this movie a lot. Maybe I'm just I'm his ideal audience, but this was to me one of the best executed movies of the year by far.
Yeah, I think the discourse around this movie, just based off of people's reactions, let's say for example from our conversation that when we talked about this and we reviewed it, I think most people who didn't like the movie were really expecting that biopic, Leonard Bernstein biopic. If you're looking for that, if you're like a fan of his and you know his works and you want a movie that basically highlights him personally and his accomplishments, this is not the movie for you. This is a movie that took more.
From his little boy, and his dad shows him a piano and goes, one day we can buy a piano. He goes, exactly. I want to play the piano someday, Dad. Right. I promise I'll be the best.
Or he's watching something on TV and he's like, oh, I like that guy waving the stick around. What does that guy do? That's what we call a composer.
He steps on a stick as a boy, holds it in his hand, holds it up to the sun.
Oh, yeah. And then it becomes this big thing, the revelation. Yeah, no, this is not that movie. And that's why the more and more I think about what Carey Mulligan said about this, how this is not a biopic, the more and more I agree with that, because it really isn't. Yep. This is more an exploration about a person and the life and people who he impacted around him. That's why you get to see a lot of her character in the forefront, because she had to deal with everything personally about what he's going through in his life, right? Good or bad. And then you get the moments with the sister, and you get the moments with Maya Hawke, who plays the eldest daughter. So it's a lot of the impact of those around him, and not only focus on Leonard himself. And because of that, as someone who is not a historian on the Bernstein legacy or whatever, I appreciate a movie like this because it gives me more. It gives me more about those around him and gives me more insights on how he is as a person behind the scenes and everything. And I appreciate that. Now, those who also didn't like the movie falls along the other line, like you said, where Bradley is trying too much to be the Oscar Beatty type of director and movie maker and all that. When we read the comments from Rotten Tomatoes of those people who didn't like the movie, we felt like they were personally attacking Bradley because they just don't like Bradley Cooper as a person. Someone who's like the overachiever in Hollywood and all.
Do more raccoon stuff, Bradley.
Yeah. We want to see more raccoon stuff. Can you go back to that guy you played in The Hangover? We want to see more of that, So I think I understand the discourse, but I think it's unfair for the most part because it's based off of, I guess, expectations and just personal opinion on Bradley as an individual or as a person in Hollywood. If you take that all out of the way, I mean, I think the movie is just a very well done movie and enjoyable for me personally. And I really, really enjoyed my time watching this movie and watching it. I'm planning on watching it again, and I can't wait to relive those moments. So that's why it made our top 12 list, regardless of what other people say. And for one last time, for the record, Leonard Bernstein. Okay, you're welcome.
Leonard.
Oh, it's Leonard Bernstein. Oh, don't do that to me. Don't.
Leotard, but Leonard, yeah.
Boy and Heron. Okay. Next on.
With you until you never pronounce anything
I know.
right again.
Until I just mess everything up. Next on our list here is Killers of the Flower Moon. The Scorsese epic from 2023 with Lily Gladstone and Leonardo DiCaprio. Really not much to say about this movie. Just we really thoroughly enjoyed it. It made my top 12. It made your honorable mentions. But I think we both agree that this was just a very well done Scorsese movie. Your typical Scorsese fare as far as directing is concerned, and length, of course. But then there's a lot of heavy discussion on performances from those like Lily Gladstone and Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, Jesse Plemons. I think Lily Gladstone is the forerunner as far as major Oscar considerations concerned. But again, the achievement here and the movie in itself is great. I consider this to be Scorsese's Schindler's List. That's kind of what I equate it to. A story he's been wanting to tell for a very long time that's very serious and could affect those watching it, especially if you're part of those communities. So I consider it to be kind of his version of that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Do you have any thoughts on the movie and why you felt it didn't make your top 12, but it fell in your honorable mentions?
I think this is a really good movie. I need to rewatch it. I've heard that it's much better and a deeper experience on the rewatch, that it makes more sense, not just as a story, but what is Martin Scorsese trying to tell with this story. I think a lot of confusion folks have had in the reviews to it could be solved through a rewatch or some analysis of someone who's really considered like, okay, this is that gray area. And this is exactly like Martin Scorsese is painting with a lot of gray brushstrokes in this, moral tale, including all the way to the point where he puts himself in the end of the movie, which is, I think, a much louder piece than just a comic little bookend at the end, or him signing off on, how the story was told. I was miserable watching this movie because, not the movie's fault, I was in San Francisco. I was cold. I was walking around for hours, killing time until the movie started, hungry, had to get the timing right. So I missed the movie, had to go get food, just a whole thing. Walking my way around San Francisco. And then I sat through a 3-hour movie. And I think if I rewatched it, this might be much higher on my list. I'm not sure. But it was one of those I didn't have. Oh, during the movie, guy starts snoring very loudly.
Oh,
to the point where
God.
I have a giant metal water bottle and there's the plastic ring here. So I drop it loudly back into like it's not terrible. It's like a clunk noise, clunks loudly. Nothing. The person next to me was not happy. I thought they were in on the plan. I thought we kind of made it like okay, I'll try to wake him up thing, which means I'm going to have to make a noise.
Right.
Nope. Then I felt like an ass. So I just like, hey, and he gets angry, like what? Because I woke him up, not realizing you're snoring so loud, like people were laughing around. It was sucked. Yeah. So all that to say, I need to rewatch this movie and it might jump up on my list. I do know that it's a great movie, and some people have some beef with parts of it. I found myself it dragged at parts, but that may have been the snoring man next to me. I'm still not sure.
Right. So it's interesting how both you and I had interesting movie experiences in the theater. Me with the two slobs with my personal commentary, and you with the snoring man.
Those movies are rated higher for us than the other person who had the bad experience. Just like Star is Born with you.
Oh God,
and your terrible movie. Here's my only question about Killers of the Flower Moon, because I don't know if we're going to talk about it much. I guess Oscar season we might really have this convo out.
Sure.
Is Robert De Niro good in this movie, or is he just kind of doing phone it in Robert De Niro?
Here's
I think he was great, but some people are acting like it's his best performance.
You know why? It's because this is the Robert De Niro acting that we expect him to give every movie.
This is the low expectations. Right. He's benefiting from he's made too many Dirty Grandpa movies or
exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you. Yeah, it's just one of those things where, oh, look, Robert De Niro is really good in here. Why? Because he's actually trying, unlike, just coasting.
He's acting. He's one of our best actors. So therefore,
right.
Round of applause. Okay.
Right.
All right. I'm with it.
And you know how like there are certain directors that can just get the best out of an actor if they work with them long enough. So him and Scorsese, they're just in sync all the time. So I think Scorsese already has this expectation from De Niro. It's like, you're going to act this way. And he gets it, So
I'd like to think there's a behind the scenes dialogue where De Niro's had just been in those other movies too long. He goes, hey, Marty, are you sure I shouldn't give this kid a wedgie? I don't know. Maybe I should give him some real thick accent thing and some maybe I should push a kid off of a curb and say, you're stupid. Look at you. I don't know. We need more slapstick in this thing. What do you know? We need more pratfalls. I think he's like, he shows up in a full tracksuit. And they're like, why are you dressed like that? He goes, it's a comedy, right? He just got totally lost in the last 20 years since Meet the Parents.
Yeah, I expect him to be sitting there with Leonardo DiCaprio and Lily Gladstone and just go to them and say, I have nipples. Can you milk me? Just like
great line.
Yeah.
Hey, that cow has an nipple. Yeah, okay, we're moving on. Yep.
Yeah. So there, Killers of the Flower Moon. Next is Beau is Afraid. Now, if you've been listening to us all through of last year, when this movie came out, this was like a main topic of conversation for both Blake and I. We were thoroughly invested with this movie. We couldn't stop talking about it. This was Blake's first Ari Aster film that he's ever seen, which I thought was amazing. An amazing entry into the world and mind of Ari Aster. Which kind of led you down like the Ari Aster filmography a little bit. I don't think you've seen all of his stuff, but I think you allowed yourself to see.
Got a few in.
Yeah. So at least you understand why, for me, Ari is like one of the top directors right now for me. And this is like a great study of psychology in an individual, And I was someone reached out to me on Instagram who wanted to quote some of the videos that we put up there on Beau is Afraid, because she's a psychologist, and she was doing an article for her blog about the psychology behind Beau is Afraid and how there are a lot of similarities between people that she has once either had as patients or whatever the case was, because it is a kind of an interesting look into someone's mind, especially someone who is overly paranoid, who has a complex, who has a very demanding mother and a unusual upbringing, and just how that plays along with all the craziness in today's world and the paranoias that can kind of like evolve around all of that. Joaquin Phoenix's performance is brilliant all throughout this film. The directing was on point, and it was just a thrill to watch. And I think a lot of people who didn't know what to expect with this movie, when they saw it, it's either they really liked it or they extremely hated it. I think it was just very like complete opposites there. But Blake and I, we both thoroughly enjoyed it. Even though it didn't make my top 12, it was part of my honorable mentions. Blake, this came in on number 2 on your list as far as top 12. So why did it rank that high for you? Or was it basically everything I just said?
Everything you just said. Bo gets me. I get Bo.
Yeah.
This movie was perfectly made for me. People I know, life experience, and just what I look for in a movie. It gave me those tingles of excitement of I can't believe I'm watching this. And that to me, there's a lot of movies that will make a normal human product for human people. And this was a absolutely ecstatic and bonkers product. And I was like, are you sure this is actually happening? It felt like the character was hallucinating and the movie couldn't possibly be real. It was so intense at times.
Yeah.
And I also viewed it like some of our other movies as a comedy, and that made me appreciate it all the more. Parts of it are much more there's also like the anxiety film, like that Safdie Brothers thing, which I love those movies. Love Joaquin Phoenix. Some of the supporting performances thing, also incredible. I couldn't get over this movie, and I'm still not over it. So the fact that it had that deep and lasting of an impact on me while being an entertaining and high quality movie, definitely number 2 for me.
Yeah, shout out to Patti LuPone, who plays the mom in this film. Oh man, if you ever had any kind of mommy complex, yeah, if you ever grew up with a demanding mom or whatever the case is, this will definitely like ring home to you for sure.
I wonder if a lot of people who hated it's because it made them uncomfortable in that
Probably.
kind of way. They're like, what's his deal? He doesn't have I'm not like that at all. I don't have any problems. There's not even a little bit of part of me that's like that. That would be hilarious. It's just a lot of denial out there. I wonder if a lot of therapists had to talk about that movie after people saw it because it was so
I'm
intense
sure.
and immersive.
I'm sure.
Yeah, like good business. Good business. BetterHelp.com should probably sponsor that movie and like give it its own streaming platform. Just
for sure.
Trigger some people into some more extra sessions.
Well, you remember the story, right, that broke out where Ari's mom went to see the movie and she left like after 20 minutes and she's like, all right, I already know what you're trying to say here. like I'm out of here.
I forgot. Yes. So good.
It's so funny. But yeah, so that's Beau is Afraid. Now, our top 3 of 2023. Each of these movies have made our own personal top 12 in kind of various orders for the most part, with the exception of our number 1. But our number 3 of the year is Oppenheimer, thebomb.com, son. This is Christopher Nolan's Heimer to Barbenheimer phenomenon that happened in the summer of 2023. Cillian Murphy is fantastic in this movie. Huge consideration for actor of the year, but also great supporting performances from Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh. The list can go on and on and on. I mean, I know I'm leaving people out.
Wild.
The cast was
it's phenomenal. Every 10 minutes you go, what? They're in this also?
Yeah.
We're 2 hours in. We just got introduced to someone. Hell yeah.
It's unbelievable. One of my
favorite actors.
When Josh Hartnett showed up, I was just like, what? He's like in this movie?
We're doing this.
Oh my God, he's so good. Yeah, it's unbelievable how good this movie. Emily Blunt, who played his wife, it's just every performance in this movie was very well done and well portrayed. The cinematography, the directing, the sound, everything held up to the expectations that I had. However, I don't think I was expecting to love it as much as I did. Of course, I was expecting your typical Christopher Nolan fare, major blockbuster, huge film. But this in its own way is a biopic, not like a Maestro biopic, but this is in its own way a biopic up to a certain point in Oppenheimer's life. And it was very well explored and well portrayed, I think. A lot of the emotions involved in it, a lot of the stress in decision making, the anxiety of the event leading up to that point, very well done and well portrayed on screen. For a movie that is way over 3 hours long, the fact that it got the attention that it did and made the box office that it did is outstanding. And I think it has a
It's
testament.
3 hours and 9 seconds. So I don't know why you said way over 3 hours. The IMAX version's 3 hours and 39 seconds. I'll give you that. That's just how long it felt, like 3 hours plus a lot of seconds.
Right. Well, okay, so it's not Return of the King long. It's not like that, but it is a longer movie for the movie that it is for a biopic like that. But every minute of the movie was not wasted. It didn't feel like any part dragged or anything like that. And you and I, we've seen it multiple times in theaters. I think it's well deserved to be watched in theaters. It's being re-released in IMAX again this month because I think it's trying to hit that 1 billion mark globally, and I think it will probably hit it for sure. But yeah, we dedicated an episode talking about this film. That's just how good it was. I don't know if you have any final words to say on this and why it's on our top 3.
What unlocked the movie for me, now that it's out, maybe someone can disprove this, or I need to rewatch it, not just in IMAX again, but also at home. There's this scene where they're talking about how the atmosphere might be destroyed and life will become unlivable. And they're just asking, like, okay, it's a 0% chance. Can we get it to 0? He's like, that's not how it works. It's theoretical.
Yeah.
But at some point, they say in exactly 1 hour, 58 minutes, we'll know. And I was looking at my watch, and pretty sure the bomb drops at the 1 hour and 58 minute mark, which is there. And then I, on rewatch, was looking at it. I guess I saw it 3 times in theaters. My goodness. It was just like marking the times of things. And the editing of this movie has been talked about a lot, and how there's these segments and it'll chop very quickly from the past, the future. There's also something interesting happening with the visuals when they're showing between scenes and they're transitioning and they're showing the universe coming together, or basic elements, and eventually a bomb, and it building up in those ways. One of the questions I asked afterward was like, how was it so choppy and yet such a clear narrative linearly all the way through while doing the thing Nolan? I've had a hard time with some of his other movies and some of the other directors. When you're non-linear, my brain, some people are great at it. I have a real hard time piecing things together. So I have to really sit there and like map out Memento and go, wait, what actually happened when? Just because that's not how my mind works. This movie was very well edited and had a lot of it. And that's, I think, one of the most difficult things to do, is to tell this complex of a story about something that it could be simple. There's a really simple basic version of this movie that's just, this guy's super smart. He gets a camp together, and it's just telling the story of a guy putting the team together, building the bomb. It goes off, and then what happens after that. And it made it such a big difference. Plus, there was the event movie of it all with Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
And it was a spectacle of a movie, much more than just a story about that man, and a spectacle within society at large. Made for one of the most exciting movie weekends I can ever remember. And at the end of the day, a perfect film. I'm curious how this will go, but in Oscars night, there's a version where this ends up with a fuckload of awards and might have the most nominations, which we'll talk about more when we get to our number 1 choice. We've had that conversation about a few movies so far this year, but I'll let you take it back over.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, there's so much we could talk about Oppenheimer, and we have. But the conversation could just carry on from here, because there's just so many good things to say about this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you owe it to yourself to watch it. Even if you watch it at home, you have the ability to kind of like split it up, because the 3 hour and whatever 29 seconds, maybe or maybe too long for a lot of you.
329 hours.
Yeah. But it is definitely a worthy watch there. And could be considered to be one of Nolan's best when you look at his filmography. That could be a list we could talk about later on down the line as far as putting that list together.
I think it's his best, but that's a fun combo.
For sure. Next on our list here, and I love how Blake is trying to mess me up by adding additional words to this, but it's...
Read it like it says.
Taste the salt, feel the burn. It is Saltburn as our number 2 movie of 2023.
So controversial.
this
If
is
you're mad
very
right now, write it in the comments. I'm begging you. Just let me know. Just give us an FYI.
look, Saltburn is one of those movies that when I saw it, it was so wild and it was so absurd in many ways that I loved every minute of it. I loved the twist at the end. I love like the kind of change in tone with the characters involved in it. I left the theater saying that this is easily one of my favorite movies of the year. The minute I walked out of the theater, I kept telling Blake, I can't wait for you to watch it because I knew this has you written all over it. You had no idea what I was talking about until you finally saw it yourself. In fact, how many times have you seen it in theaters?
I think 4 total now. Yeah.
So Blake was definitely feeling the burn for Saltburn as he kept watching and watching. However, I do feel like the constant rewatching and the backlash this movie has been getting kind of spoiled it a little bit for you. Not for me. Like in my own personal top 12, this remains number 2, kind of the same ranking it is now here for our overall list. For you, it fell down to 5th place on your list. What was it about the discourse on this movie that really killed it a little bit for you? Someone who said, this was a movie meant for me, and I saw it over and over again, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if I like this movie so much anymore.
So we're back to the question of not just what the experience you had in the theaters, because I had a similar experience as you. My jaw was on the ground and I couldn't pick it up, and so that's why I had to keep watching it. And after multiple watches, it waters it down the experience a little bit, and you get to see it more soberly and less excited. And so I get to actually analyze the story and the writing and etc. Mm-hmm. I still stand by it as a personal favorite. But if you were to ask me to rate what are the best movies at the end of the year, once we factor that in, then I will have more of that brain that looks to see what other people think and critics and how effective was it for other people, which is why it gets a little bit knocked. I think the main criticism that other folks are saying that kind of got through to me when rewatching it is that it's not as cohesive of a story. It doesn't necessarily make sense. It's just so spectacular. It's so fantastical. It's so out there that it is a very sensational movie. And that's part of what got my attention about it and kept my attention during those initial watches. But then overall, does it actually back it up with the story? I think the script and the dialogue is flashy as fuck. I think the cinematography and editing are solid. The plot is wild, and what they're choosing to show in between the lines is absolutely wild. But it's kind of hard to think clearly when you're seeing the bathtub full of blood or blood being dripped down someone's face. Other things that are more wild. Everyone talks about the bathtub, drinking the bathwater scene, etc.
Yeah.
So I think I was similar to Beau Was Afraid. I was amazed that I was seeing these things on a screen, and that got me very excited. I'm not taking much away from this movie when it drops to my number 5 spot, considering this is such a good movie year. And if you ask me again, my ratings tomorrow, this might be number 2 or 3. I know it's not going to displace our number 1 movie, which we're about to get to. I'm excited to talk about. But at the end of the day, this is a very good movie that I enjoyed very, very much. And even if the backlash is annoying, when I tune it out, it's still at least a top 5 movie for me. Says a lot.
Yeah. And we should definitely call out the performances in this movie too, because this is the best I've seen from Barry Keoghan ever. I do strongly feel he deserves recognition and nomination for Best Actor of 2023. Jacob Elordi, who is a new name to me personally because I've never watched. What show was he on? I think he was
Euphoria again.
Euphoria, right? It's amazing how Euphoria just has a lot of these great performances and actors involved in it, and we're starting to see it spill into movies now. So Jacob Elordi, who had a big year with Priscilla in this movie, he has a couple of other movies coming up in 2024 too. So he's a big name to watch out for. You had Archie,
Medikwe, Maduke. I think it's Maduke, and I try to make it more complicated, but now I get lost. I get lost whenever I get switched up, and I've heard multiple pronunciations.
Because I like to say Medikwe, right? But it's Maduke.
I swear I heard someone saying that in an official way, but I could be wrong, honestly.
Okay. Well,
Can't
Archie,
be clear about it. I could be wrong. Yeah.
I'm
We,
gonna say
we none of us
Benequay.
know right now.
I'm gonna say Archie
Okay.
Mediquay.
But it's
Great.
Wayne the Heron, by the way.
But and it's Bernstein, not Bernstein. But
Lenny
Archie,
Bernstein.
the
Not Lenny. Yeah.
the Leonardo Bernstein of
No.
New Yorker Bernsteins. But Archie Mediquay is a great up and coming actor. Definitely look out for him. He had another good year last year with Gran Turismo and Saltburn. Rosamund Pike was great in this movie too. Very, very alluring mother figure. Very, very well done and performed there. Just the cast overall was great. And that added to the allure of the film for me. The discourse I'm seeing too is that a lot of people are just saying it's a complete ripoff of like The Talented Mr. Ripley and other movies like very similar to this. I don't see it that way, but I guess if you're going to be so critical about it, then you could nitpick if you want. But for me, it was probably the more refreshing and kind of shocking movies of last year. Next to our next movie, that is our number one movie overall of 2023. And that is Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things. This is one of those rare occasions that Blake and I have agreed on one thing without previously talking about it, because this ended up as the number one movie on both of our personal top 12 lists. Again, without prior discussion and all that. So it is definitely lightning in the bottle, but it again goes to show you how strongly we felt about this movie. Talk about the most shocking movie of the year, the most kind of surprising and just one of those like experiences you had watching a movie that will always stand out to me personally. You have Yorgos Lanthimos, who visually is a great director. He loves throwing in a lot of curveballs in his storytelling and all that. And we definitely get a lot of that in this film. Emma Stone with probably a career-defining role as she really puts herself out there playing this new-to-life character at an adult age, acting like a child. The way she portrays herself, like learning how to walk the first time, learning how to navigate life, learning how to navigate all the pleasures of all the senses and everything. The amount of nudity, the amount of sex, the amount of indulgence is just off, it's just off the rails here. You had great performances also from Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, Gerard Carmichael. There are a lot of great performances here that really stand out. Rami Youssef is fantastic in this film as well. So overall, just brilliant acting, brilliant directing, brilliant cinematography, costume design, design of the sceneries and everything. Top-notch stuff we're talking about here. But this is also a movie that I think will not ring true to a lot of other people out there. I've heard people who've tried watching this movie and they say, what the fuck am I watching? This is just so bizarre, so weird. Because it is very art house-like. It is very art house in a way that it will not appeal to a lot of, kind of more general audiences out there. The great story I like to tell you is one of the guys I follow on YouTube, when he watched 15 minutes of this and he's like, what is this bullshit? This Oscar baity piece of shit that they do every year. Follow up to that story, he allowed himself to finally watch the whole film, ended up becoming one of his best movies of the year. So you can go suck a dick, dude, and give it a shot. But it's just one of those films, right? So it's just an amazing movie that we can talk hours and hours upon. But for me, the reason why it's the top of my list and deserves to be the top of our list here is because it has everything that I expect for in a movie that I watch. Great story, great directing, great performances, attachment to the characters that you're watching, entertaining all throughout, good amount of laughs, good amount of like, oh my God, emotional moments, and in a way that is also very poignant in life and something that we could relate to in real life situations and scenarios. And I feel like this had a lot of that, but also very tongue in cheek, which is very much Yorgos Lanthimos' brand. That's very much his thing. which I appreciate. And I think with Blake and I's type of personalities, Yorgos is definitely a director that really speaks to us as far as kind of like the tongue-in-cheek, not take life so seriously, kind of sarcastic look on things. And he definitely puts a lot of those spins in his movies. So for me, that's one of the reasons why this was another one of those movies where I walked out, I was like, hands down, it's over for me. This is the best movie I've seen all of last year when I watched it. And, I guess that's one of the reasons why you feel the same way there, Blake.
Well, I will say I'm going to add a New Year's resolution that earlier we talked about that we don't really have any. We need to go to therapy more, dude. I'm looking at our top 12, and apparently we are freaks and weirdos because we're talking. I'm a little concerned here. Beau is Afraid, Saltburn, and Poor Things are in our top 4, but also Oppenheimer rounds it out. Not The Killer is in our top 12. Not great, maybe, but what I do love about I'm standing by this movie, number 1, at least until I iron out all my kinks. Quality movie, everything you went through, big time. Yorgos Lanthimos was one of my favorite directors and is even more so now. It's one of those times where you go in with high expectations and high hopes, and then it was way better than I thought it would be. I was a little bit even concerned. The Favorite, I was like, okay, this is really good, but I don't love it as much as The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer. This one, to me, knocked it out of the fucking park. It was his biggest movie yet. That's another thing you like to see. Yeah. The directors you love getting bigger and bigger budgets to do bigger and bigger projects with bigger movie stars, and then they actually, their vision can scale accordingly. I think the only thing, I know you touched on a lot of it. The only thing I'll kind of harp on is the philosophy of this movie.
Sure.
Why are we human? What's it like to be a human? What are we doing here? What's our purpose? What's it like to live an entire life, but to condense it into a movie? It's a very difficult thing to do. A lot of people do that by trying to show a birth to death story. And this kind of has that in its own little way, not death, but it has she's kind of born, but she's more of a Frankenstein's creation. There are actual philosophy conversations and texts with Gerard Carmichael's character, and they're debating concepts on the boat. It really does a good job of showing this scope of humanity. Like the movie Synecdoche, New York, one of my favorite Philip Seymour Hoffmans, but it's so condensed and it's not drawn out in that same way while being fucking hilarious. I saw this movie first time in New York City with my best friend here. We had an amazing time, laughed a lot, had a nice conversation afterward. Then when I was back home in Oklahoma City, had it with my lifelong best friend and his brother, who's another bestie, and same scenario, laughed throughout the movie and had a great conversation afterward. And so it's that perfect combination of high quality movie, also deep and also entertaining as hell. And that's all I've ever asked for from any movie. And it delivered in all throughout on all categories. Like, I'm excited. I want to go back and see it again. And again, I can't get enough of this movie. Anytime it came up, someone was like, "Oh yeah, which is my number 1 movie of the year." From the moment I saw it, I just knew that. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah, and it's a great feeling, and we talked about this feeling too. Is that when you know it, you know it. And this was one of those movies that hit us, and we're like, "Wow, that was a moment that I always look forward to when I go to the theater and watch movies." And it stuck so close to me and kept on in my mind so much after the fact that I couldn't wait for you to see it. I couldn't wait for us to talk about it. Very similar to like Saltburn. And it's one of those movies that goes against the grain too. Like, this is not a very typical movie that you would expect to see. It took a lot of risks, and it swung for the fences, very much like how Barbie kind of did, but in a more grander scale to appeal to a more general audience. This doesn't care as far as which audience it hits. It just tells the story for what it is. And that's another great thing about Yorgos, is that he just wants to tell the story. He doesn't care about as far as what audience it affects or who it hits home to or whatever. He tells the story the way it's meant to be told. And this is, even when you hear Emma talk about this role too, I think has stated that this is one of her favorite roles that she's ever done. And you can kind of tell because she was brought on just to be an actress, and then later on became a producer on the film because that's how strongly she felt about it and how much she wanted to work on every little aspect of Bella's character with Yorgos. How she came up with kind of like the movement and the motion of a person who is just learning about their own body for the first time and learning how to walk and learning how to talk and facial expressions and all that. And it really stands out with her performance and when you see it all throughout the film. It is amazing that we were able to get a movie like that last year. And I'm so happy that at the end of the year, we can call it our favorite of all time of 2023. So there you go. Top 12. Recap it one last time, going from 12 to 1. We have Barbie, The Killer, Godzilla -1, Past Lives, John Wick 4, Boy and the Heron, Maestro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Beau is Afraid, Oppenheimer, Saltburn, and Poor Things. How does this all compare to your list, to your top favorites out there? Let us know in any of the ways possible that you can talk to us and communicate with us. We would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on our list and whether or not any movie that you enjoyed from last year have made it, or if we missed something. Let us know what you would have included or what we may have overlooked and missed on our final list here. So, as we close out our final thoughts of 2023, we look forward to this year, 2024, and we're going to quickly go ahead and recap our most anticipated films of 2024. These are the movies that, for us personally, we are super excited for this year. And as I do every year, and I think for 2 years in a row now since we've been doing this, I have called out the one movie that will stand out and will be like either the most talked about movie or the most explosive movie of the year. I called it with Top Gun Maverick. I called it with Barbie. And this year, I'm going to call it with Deadpool 3. I'm telling you that this is going to be the movie that's going to stand out the most out of the whole year. No, I'm dead ass serious. One of my most anticipated movies of the year, and the movie that will be like probably the most talked about and biggest explosive movie of the year is Deadpool 3, because you have so much riding on this movie. You have a return of a character that general audiences in total just love and really, really love seeing on screen. And Ryan Reynolds does a really great job in portraying this Deadpool character. You have Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine, another most beloved superhero character portrayed on the big screen that a lot of people really love. A lot of people love the chemistry that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have on social media. So that's like a big thing that they're really going to be drawn to. But I also want to say that the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is riding on this movie. What happens with this movie will help determine, I think, the forecast for future Marvel films and how people will adapt and react to the future Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward after this movie is concerned. Because there's expectations that we're going to get introduced to the X-Men and everything, and we're going to see a new light as far as what to expect within the Marvel Cinematic Universe moving forward. So I think this movie is going to do buku bucks at the theater, and I think it's going to be the most talked about movie of the year, in my opinion. So.
Right. I'm making a note to myself to grab that audio just like I did last year when you said something like there's no chance Michelle Yeoh will get nominated for an Oscar, something like that.
That was just like how you said
even out January 22.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's very similar. Yeah. See, I noticed how you don't want me to finish the sentence, but it's very similar to how when you said Top Gun Maverick will no way be the blockbuster film that it was going to be moving into the year after, and how you doubted my
That's
Barbie.
What I'm doing right now is I'm putting it on the line, and I'm going to say, what's not aging well is superhero movies. What's also people are pretty tired of is Ryan Reynolds comedy. I'm not saying he's not successful. I'm not even saying this movie won't make a lot of money. I don't think it'll be the hit and talked about. How do we quantify that? Like, a lot of people could go see this movie. A lot of people saw Anchorman 2, but it was more of a flash in the pan of a sequel. I'm not saying it'll even be that bad. I think it'll be like, okay, that was pretty good. That was fine. But it's possible this is the death knell of Marvel. I know for the last, since we started this, basically, we keep having this, should we talk about how superhero movies are dying and dead? And I kept bringing it up early on. You're like, I don't know, maybe Eternals they're going to bring it all together. And I know that you love this stuff, and I love that for you. And I love that you and your nerd superhero loving ass friends have had a great 15 years. And I was the person on the other end of it before who was like, these movies suck, they're stupid, they're not art. And then I came around to them, saw all the Marvel movies. You know, we're talking about them. We saw the final Marvel movie, Phase 3, whatever, Endgame. We saw it together, even when this bro ship really came to as what became the Movie Time guys. The director who's making Deadpool 3, other hits include Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds kind of flop. Also includes The Atom Project, the super flop from Ryan Reynolds. Night at the Museum, a movie that made money and a lot of people saw. But like, I'm looking through his credits for anything sincere that like, dude, that was the best movie of the year type shit. There's not a lot to be excited about here. He's produced some good things. He made okay, Cheaper by the Dozen, Just Married, Big Fat Liar. It's not good, dude. So my fear is that they're just taking it too far. They've overextended themselves, and it'll be one of those like, wow, they really went for it and it fucking flopped. I hope you're right. I really enjoyed Deadpool. I was one of the bros out there, just seen it multiple times in theaters. It hasn't aged very well, my guy. So you might be right, or this might be some real red meat for the red state, like anti-bros who are like, fuck this wokeness. We need to have a guy telling it like it really is. People wearing Deadpool shirts on the street are gonna love this fucking movie. I already know it. But it's not a hot brand right now, and neither is Ryan Reynolds or superhero movies.
Look,
so, I hope you're right. I love it when the movies are good.
Yeah, everything you said is accurate, but I've also been very honest with my criticism of the the superhero films of like true. Especially last year. We got a lot of shit last year. It's bad now, dude. Yeah, we got a lot of shit last year. And Marvel right now is hanging by a thread.
Well, though, isn't he? Isn't Aquaman doing great?
Internationally, it is, but not domestically.
Yeah, not as bad of a flop as the others. Or someone sent me an encouraging headline. Was it you or somebody else was like, dude, it's not as bad as we thought. It's like it is less of a flop than these other two huge flops.
Yeah, but the fact that Aquaman is still pulled in less money than the Marvels is really, really bad. And yeah, the landscape for the superhero genre is very, very poor and bad right now.
It's a dark night for superhero movies.
Yeah, no, for sure. But even though like Sean Levy hasn't done anything major, right? Like those movies he came out with.
I mean, like he's a good hired gun and has had some flaws, but just had like Night at the Museum is one of those like get a guy who can make a product, you know, put it out.
Well, here's the deal with okay, so Real Steel, that is like a very underrated movie that I think more people should consider as being a very decent movie that he's done. The Atom Project, when it came out on Netflix, that was like one of the most watched movies of that time when it came out in 2022. And a lot of people really actually liked that movie.
What is Real Steel?
Real Steel is the movie with Hugh Jackman. It's kind of Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but in real life.
Okay, yeah. One of the best movies of the decade, for sure. I remember that one.
I did not say that. Now you're putting words in my mouth. I did not say one of the best films of the decade. I just said it is an underrated movie that more people should give a shot. I don't know how that equates to best movie of the decade, but no, I did not say all that.
So exciting.
But even Free Guy was very entertaining and enjoyable too. But remember, Free Guy came out in a year when not a lot of people were going to theaters yet. So I feel like a lot of people just didn't give it a shot. I think Deadpool 3, first of all, it has a legacy attached to it already. 2 very successful films. People enjoy this character. People do still love Marvel, even though they're tired of it. And this is going to be the only Marvel film releasing this year. There aren't going to be any other Marvel film. There's only, I think, one DC film releasing, and that's Joker. So as far as superhero movies are concerned, we're not getting a lot this year at all. So this being the standalone, there's going to be a lot of eyes on it, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised in how good this movie's going to turn out. And I could be extremely wrong too. I can just be like blah 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 this and that, and then I'll be like, oh wow, this movie was a piece of shit. I don't know what I was
You don't
thinking.
have to say that. We all know that you can be extremely wrong, Renee. We all can technically.
Right. In the last 2 years, I haven't been. So.
I love that Deadpool and Joker, these two anti-superhero guys, are the ones who are like the ones with movies left. Like, okay,
right? Yeah,
we
I know.
Have guys. It kind of makes sense in a branding way of like, oh, let's flip it around.
Yeah.
If you hate superhero movies, you're gonna love these superhero movies. It'd be like if Logan came out this year too, it'd make sense. Just like, yeah, a grieving ass superhero dude.
Yeah, someone who's like wanting to die and kill himself and like
Deadpool? Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. But like I said, again, a tradition I do every year is like I call out one movie and saying that is going to be the movie of the year. And like I said, 2 years in a row, I think I've done pretty well for myself. But as far as like other anticipated movies on my list, again, just real quick, Dune 2, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Again, if you know me, you're not surprised. I'm looking forward and I'm excited for these movies. Furiosa, which we're finally getting, which is another entry into the whole Mad Max saga. I'm very, very excited for that. Ballerina, something I mentioned before, spin-off of John Wick with Ana de Armas as the lead role here. I mentioned Joker. That's another one on my list. Drive Away Dolls, which is a Coen movie that looks extremely fascinating. And I think I'm very, very curious as to how this movie is going to turn out. Mickey 17, that is from director Bong Joon, who is director of Parasite. So I am looking forward to what his next movie is going to be. So I'm definitely excited for that. Civil War, which Blake and I talked about in depth after we were talking about the other movie. What is it? Leave the World Behind. Because this is another movie that could be extremely mind-fucking with us as far as how we perceive America. And it's Alex Garland, too, who is not someone who shies away from being, who doesn't shy away from talking about societal and political and kind of the social landscape. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see a movie like that. And it looks scary to me. It just looks very, very frightening because of how real it is. Twisters, which is the sequel to Twister, the movie. The reason why I'm excited for this is because Twister was one of those movies I would watch hand in hand with Jurassic Park back in the day. I had 2 VHS tapes that I was always having on repeat, and that was Jurassic Park and Twister, because I love those 2 movies a lot. You have Philip Seymour Hoffman as one of the craziest characters he's ever played in the original Twister movie, playing the role as Dusty, who is like this eccentric kind of scientist dude. I think I like this character along with his character that he played in that Adam Sandler movie, the one he plays basketball with. I think those 2 characters are just very fascinating. But Twisters just sounds very, very interesting to me. Plus, it features director, who is this?
Directed by John de Bont.
Yes.
If that's
yes.
You're talking about who directed the movie.
Oh no, you're talking about the original. Yes, but the new Twisters movie is
Twisters.
Yeah, is Lee Isaac Chung, who directed Minari. I'm very, very curious as to his take on this quote unquote blockbuster like franchise. Well, it's a franchise now since they're making a sequel to it. So I'm very, very curious about that. Nosferatu is something that I am extremely, extremely excited for because it stars Willem Dafoe once again in another Nosferatu movie. He did one many years ago playing the main character of Nosferatu. This is directed by Robert Eggers. Interesting thing about this is that Eggers, he actually directed a stage production of this. And now he's turning it into a film, an actual film. And it talks about I believe it talks about the making of the movie Nosferatu. Is that right? As I'm reading this correctly. But again, the Willem Dafoe being
I'm
attached to
trying to not
this.
learn anything about those. It's one of those, and while that's
Okay.
not necessarily good
Yeah.
content, it's for me personally. I'm gonna go see this movie. Fuck yeah, no matter what, I'm
Yeah.
geeked.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just the talent attached to it is so fascinating to me, and I can't wait for that. What else do I have on my list here? Challengers. That is the latest from Luca Guadagnino, and it stars Zoe. Sorry, Zendaya. Hello, I'm freaking losing my mind. But it looks like one of those like love triangle-ish type of films again here. Luca loves experimenting with kind of risque romance situations, and this is definitely going to be another one of those type of movies here. So those are just some of the movies that I listed here as the ones that I'm anticipating the most of in coming out this year. What about you there, Blake?
So the ones that you had that I didn't have are sorry, Ghostbusters, Deadpool 3, and I meant to have Furiosa on mine. I guess it got cut at some point editing. That's fine. Just those, which are the very Renee ones of yours. The
Yeah.
ones I replaced it with, I'll just say all the other ones you said mine. I'm excited about them for the same reasons or other reasons, but I could geek out on a few of these that I'm properly excited for. But the ones that I have uniquely, Hitman, I'm a little skeptical about it, like you. We talked about off air,
Yeah.
but give me Glenn Powell, directed by Richard Linklater. Give me Richard Linklater doing a Hitman movie. I really want to know what that is. So even if it ends up not being that hot, which might be why they've been pushing it, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm going to see it no matter what. I'm going to see every Linklater I can. Bike Riders, super excited for that one. Looks really interesting.
Was
I
supposed to come out
the
in
little
2023. Unfortunately, got pushed because of the writer's strike. Yeah.
And I'm honestly, we had such a good year last year, and there'll be a lot of things that don't make it on the calendar for 2024 because they got pushed in that way, similar with COVID, the way that happened. I'm honestly spread the love a little bit. I think
Yeah.
2024 might need a little bit of help. So I'm actually okay with that. I'm excited to see that one though. And then lastly, Book of Clarence, which is coming out on Thursday.
Yeah.
I love Lakeith Stanfield. I like, and I can't quite tell the genre, and I'm trying to not look too much into it. But having seen the trailer, like religious satire, kind of,
Yeah.
but something
Hmm.
deeper, maybe. Maybe looks like it might be more like Book of Mormon, where it's actually celebrating the thing while taking a new, a take on it. Um, the concept looks brilliant to me, and I can't get. I'm enough of a Lakeith Stanfield, like put the stand in Stanfield for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go see this one opening night, regardless. I'm hyped.
Yeah. No, I think out of every movie coming out in theaters this month, that is the one movie that kind of stands out amongst everything because we have a lot of kind of small indie horror films coming out this month and just a lot of other random stuff. This is the one that really stood out the most to me as far as this is a movie I really definitely want to check out. But I think the rest of January will be you and I catching up on the 2023 movies we haven't got to see yet because either they haven't been released yet or we just haven't had a moment to really check them out yet. Some that come to mind is like movies like Fallen Leaves, which I really want to see. Monster is another one I want to see. Perfect Days is another one. Most of these are foreign films. But yeah, there's still a handful of movies that I definitely have on my list that I'm going to be really focusing on catching up with until next week when we do our special MovieTime Awards of 2023. So definitely stay tuned for that. It's not your typical awards session. We have some unique categories to share with a lot of you. And we are going to be going through our own personal nomination predictions for the Oscars because the week after that is when we're going to get the official announcement of the nominations from the Academy that we will be covering live like we did last year. So we're totally excited about that. It's not ending. The movie award season has not ended. It's still in full swing, even though it's a brand new year.
Hell yeah. Make it just go on forever. Can't wait. I would perpetually be I am perpetually watching and enjoying movies. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Get ready for a lot of Blue Beetle next week, folks, with our best of 2023. I also really excited about I need to catch up on movies like The Flash and The Marvels and Aquaman.
Oh boy.
I heard they did really well. I don't know how I missed them. Dude, can't wait.
Are we going to have a segment next week when we just hear you rant on how great these superhero movies are?
Yeah, I actually saw all of those except Blue Beetle. That's the one I need to see. And I might just do it to myself just to fucking juice my Letterboxd stats. Let's go.
Nice. Let's make it happen. But yeah, that closes out our first episode of 2024. Thank you so much for tuning in. We always appreciate all of you. It was a big episode, but hey, when you're recapping 2023, there's a lot to talk about. And the goodness continues throughout this year with all the movies that we are looking forward to watching and everything. So with all that said, before we head on out, Blake, where can people find you online?
Hey, New Year's toast to you, bro. We did it another year. I see there's fireworks behind you.
Yes.
I love doing this with you. Another year of friendship. I'm grateful. And also, thank you for this microphone. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's much louder now. That means the world to me. So thank you so much. I want to make sure you heard that loud and clear, baby, because I love you. You can find me on Letterboxd. My name is last name Wolf on Letterboxd. You can see where I ranked way too many movies in the last year. You can see my lists. I'll put my top 12 list on there where we're just talking movies, watching movies. Movie time, guys.
For any of you who are still listening after all that, I apologize for the peaking audio. But yeah, when you get excited for a new gadget, of course you're gonna like abuse it and use it as much as possible. And he's just expressing the love for his brand new mic. I
thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to have a lot of fun trying to level the audio's post-process when I put this episode together. But we do thank you. And we, again, always appreciate
Thank you for doing that also, for leveling the audios. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You do a lot of great work in post that people don't even see. They don't even know. They don't even appreciate it. And you've been doing that this whole time. I'm just here hanging out with my bro. You're doing all that work. So thank you, future Renee, also.
Yes. Yes, and thank you, future Renee.
I don't even hear it, but it's a message to you in the future. I just whispered it into the mic.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, future me is thanking you as well for all the extra work. So, but yeah, Loki Geek, Instagram, Twix, YouTube, most importantly there. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see visual clip outs of these episodes and all the other stuff we do there on the channel, reviews, watch alongs, reactions, all that good stuff. According to a poll I made, it looks like some people are looking more for industry news and pop culture news coverage. So that's something that we'll be doing more of this year as well. So definitely stay tuned for that. And of course, if you haven't done so yet, don't forget to rank and rate our podcast channel here through the podcast platform you're listening to us on. We always appreciate the support there. Shortly, we are going to be launching a Patreon so that if you want to further support us and this podcast channel, you can do so through there, and we'll make sure to offer some interesting perks for all of you who want to further support the channel on a monthly basis. And we'll get to interact, hopefully, with more of you in the future and moving on down the line. So we thank you for all of that. All that out of the way, and all that been said, that has been our episode of Movie Time. I've been Renee. That's been Blake. Thank you so much. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and we will catch you all in the next one. Peace out, y'all. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.